We're live.
Please tell me.
Pledge allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay.
Okay, you got the paperwork, which is about it. I don't know. Obviously, Jenny's gone. You know Jenny's not here, so I don't know if there's
Didn't we
anything else.
have minutes? We didn't.
I didn't have minutes. I know I didn't,
No.
and I looked. I thought she might have like a
No.
pending thing on her desk. I couldn't
No,
find it, so
that's fine.
we'll worry about that. I mean, we're like pretty much up to date, always on those. So, all right. So that's that. That's just.
When's the 22nd? What, does she just want to leave this?
Yeah, I think she's just leaving early on a Thursday. Yeah, it's a Thursday. So. Alright. That's that. So just to kind of give you guys an idea of where we're at, we had an executive session scheduled for 5, but I didn't know how much of a crowd we might have, so we pushed that off till next week. Chief Merrill is here regarding ambulance equipment purchases, that kind of strategy session, so we have him that we can jump into anytime. And then at 6 o'clock, we have on the agenda to talk about the school cost sharing formula. And then when that gets done, then we have an update from Deborah Dory Wilson on the senior lunch program. So that's where we're at on the agenda. And at the end, I have a few things, which like I always do. So that's that. So let's jump into Chief, and then if we have time, if we get done with him and we have time before 6, we can maybe squeeze some other things out.
Okay.
That sound like a plan?
Go right ahead. Whatever you
All
want.
right, so
Pass these down, great.
just,
I'll do a little more homework, that's all.
Okay.
So the first item is ambulance. So I went and talked to a couple of companies. One company did not call me back with a price. I did speak to PL Custom, which is in Maine. I did speak, which is Sugarloaf Ambulances in Maine.
Mm-hmm.
And I also did speak to Lifeline, which is ambulance services out of Attleboro, Mass. So the very first quote.
is the other one Horton?
No.
Okay.
Not Horton at all.
So you didn't even go Horton?
No.
Okay.
So
Who was the other one that wanted to bring it back to you? Just curious.
Braun.
Okay, I've heard of them.
Okay.
Isn't there like a wagon coach or wagon, something
There's
wagon?
a wheel coach,
Yeah.
which is sold by the same company who does Braun.
Oh, okay.
So, so I kind of did a couple of things. One, I went and got a quote on a remount.
Okay, hold on, just let me back you up. Our ambulance right now
Yes.
is, which one we're talking about?
A1.
A1, which is a what,
2004
2004, and it's a Horton.
F450
F450
four-wheel
4x4,
drive Horton.
and it's a Horton. Okay.
So I'm gonna give you. I get you the quote. The price of it was like $148.
So this is PL Custom, and this is to do what now?
Now this is just the PL Custom. That's the remount. The first page is just remount only, and that's the price.
And
Okay.
so what's a remount?
So what they do is they take the box off the old one.
Yeah.
Okay.
They take it to the factory. They take the box off the old one, and then they strip it out completely, and then they rebuild the inside of it. Okay.
Okay.
To their specs. This is the only company that does this currently that gave us quotes.
Mm-hmm.
So the only problem I foresee with this is over the years the trucks traveled across the roads, all the back roads, bumpy, potholes. It's hit a couple of things here and there. So we can't tell exactly if that ambulance has any stress fractures in the box.
In the box itself.
On the box itself.
Okay.
So they say they can repair it, but that's above and beyond the price that you're getting.
Okay.
Now, all the stuff that they strip out of the ambulance
Yep.
comes back to us. So then we have to find a place to get rid of it. So like all the cabinets, all the wiring, all this stuff, then we have to actually find a place to put it. And a lot of that stuff you just can't get rid of because it might have mercury in it, it might have all this stuff. So it could be, you know, the back of the ambulance could have biohazards in it still from over the years that we don't know.
So this 148, is that to redo the box?
That's to redo the box and put it on a brand new chassis.
Okay.
But we have to furnish the chassis.
We buy the chassis that comes with it. That
So this
price.
148 is including a chassis.
That's including a chassis.
Okay, sorry.
Yep, and that's a good question. But my recommendation is not to do it this way because, like I said, you don't know if that box has had a stress fracture, and it's going to cost more to repair it, and so
And
on.
the chassis is including the engine? Is that, how does that, what do we? So I mean, again, I think a chassis has just the frame. Am I wrong?
Just the truck body,
the truck frame?
the frame. That's the chassis.
So is it the front of it, it's the cab, it's the engine, that's all considered part of the chassis?
That's considered the chassis.
Okay, so so we get a brand new 450 chassis?
Chassis.
So cab with engine?
Yep.
A truck without the box.
The whole thing without
Okay.
the box.
It's like a flatbed without the flatbed, just to have some place to throw the box on top of.
Yes.
Okay.
So my recommendation is not to go this way because of the box
so it's not
itself.
the chassis. The chassis itself is
Correct. It'll be a brand new chassis.
it's a brand new truck basically, but it's the box because the box can have fractures and then we have
The
to.
box could have fractures in it.
Because that's fiberglass, correct?
No, that's actually metal.
Oh, the whole box is
The whole
metal.
box is metal.
So they wouldn't know that until they actually
So they
took it
take
apart.
all apart.
So-
and I have the quote here. Okay, so existing body not manufactured by PL Custom must be approved by the PLC Engineering, so PL Custom Engineering, and may require additional options. So right
Do
there.
we have a copy of this?
I do not because it was
okay.
a lot.
Okay.
So I just figured I'd
Yep.
use that and we can pass it around.
Yep.
It is basically, you know, if they find more damage, it's going to cost us more money to
Right.
Right.
build it. So it could be back up to the prices of brand new ambulance.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, makes sense.
So the brand new ambulance is.
So now PL Custom brand new ambulance on the second page
Yep.
It's this one, the 205.
is the
Yep.
205.
Yep.
Okay. Now, the third ambulance, which we got a quote on, was from Lifeline.
Are these are these the same ambulances?
They're the same
Well,
type
I
of
mean-
ambulance, but may have different features on it.
Okay.
So-
So is this like a strip model? No.
No,
Okay.
Is the PL Custom a 550 or is it a 450?
it's a 550.
So the base of them are basically the same. Still 550
Yes, they're all
for
550s.
Okay, but it's really we're talking about the box and the sensors and the wiring and the.
Now, then the reason, here's my thought process. Lifeline Ambulance, they gave us a quote of $225, $585. Okay, so they're giving us a fleet discount of $5,217, and then they're going to give us a trade-in of $3,800. That's how much that truck is really worth right now, because they won't get any money off it.
So
anyway.
it says an 09 Ford.
It says, yeah, he made a mistake.
It's the 04.
Yeah, it's the 04.
Okay. So that we can write 04. That's
Yep.
the right thing. Okay.
So this is. So your other idea about the old ambulance would basically
That
cost
would-
us $3,800 is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yes.
we'd have to remove that, but it would be
Right.
okay. So we'd lose out on that 3,800 if that. Okay. You don't know what his idea is.
So-
We'll get to that.
But
So that's-
also, I haven't gone through this quote yet
okay.
to see all the specs on it, because I can go through the specs and we may be able to cut corners here and there, which will bring the price down.
Okay.
Okay. I figured I would like to get 2 or 3 guys to do it and sit down with the guy who gave us the quote and do it that way, because he can do all the calculations right then and there. So now my thought process is to go with Lifeline and the specialty vehicles. The reason why, Lifeline actually has a lifetime guarantee on the box. So what we work out of, they have a lifetime guarantee. The paint is also a guarantee longer. The electrical work is also guaranteed longer. And then you have the regular Ford warranty.
Mhm.
So even though it costs more, we're getting better service out of it, I believe.
Mhm.
So
We have 2 Hortons right now, and the electricals are horrible, which is half our problems is the sensors and the electrical, which is all wired in the box.
So now, if we brought in A2, the one that we're gonna keep, the Horton, and we brought in another ambulance to sit beside it, and if you banged on the bottoms of the cabinets, it's like paneling. If you bang on the new ambulance or another one that's similar to that, but a different, but maybe the same year, it's not paneling. It's a very steady, sturdy wood or metal cabinet.
I mean, that's how they cut costs, is the gauge of the metal, it's thinner, the wood's thinner, it's
So what you're saying is the 216 would probably be cheaper
Yes, most likely.
because they're when
We can try to find a cut costs here and there. So it could be a little bit cheaper, but right now I'm saying that's probably the price, but I can probably work on that a little bit more to get it down.
And he's recommending this versus the other one because their quality is better. So it's one of those, if you go with the cheapest one, which we did with the 2 Hortons, then they don't last. And we know we need an ambulance that's gonna last 10 years anyways.
So the other thing about the old ambulance that we're getting rid of or we want to get rid of compared to the new ambulance is in 2014 or 2004 when they built that, they had airbag suspensions in the back. At the time, it was their technology. It was the part of the best technology around. But now they have what they call liquid suspensions, and it's all hydraulic, and it gives us really smooth, incredible ride compared to what the other one does. So my thought process would be to go with Lifeline because of the quality of the truck. It'll last longer. I think I have a good working relationship with this guy in the first place. But I ride in other ambulances that this company's built, and they're superb. So that was my suggestion for ambulances.
Thoughts?
you have no thoughts? Oh, you have no thoughts or no?
So they do a lease program.
What do you prefer, Paul?
I'm gonna vote against the ambulance.
No.
Either way, regardless.
Huh?
Either way, regardless?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, all right. Okay.
All right.
So, the thought process of how to pay for this. They do have a lease program. I was thinking of $50,000 out of the CIP this year, $50,000 out of the CIP next year's budget, and then do a lease. So we could do like a 5-year lease instead of a 10-year.
Now, how much is in the CIP?
Actually, that's right now being reworked. We thought it was 85, but last night during the budget committee, Skip brought up that the jaws of life had been taken out of it. And so Jordan is doing some research, and Jordan went by our audited number, which the auditors gave us a number, and that's how he did the number one. And then we went forward from that. We're not 100% positive that audited number is correct. It's audited, you would think it would be, but it looks like it was the way stuff was put in beforehand. So he's got to rework the number.
Okay.
So it might be lower. Right now, I think it's around 85, if my memory serves me right. But it may be lower. It may be $50,000 lower. I don't know how much. I'm not sure. The Jaws of Life was like $65,000. That whole the bunch of purchases that they did. I'm not sure if the entire Jaws of Life was, but they did a bunch. They did almost $65,000 out of it. So I don't know if it was other equipment or what, but that's. So we're trying to get a handle on that. So I don't really. I thought we were at 85, but we may be at 20. Or I'm just
Okay.
So, I mean, I need to get a handle on that, but,
Who bought the Jaws of Life? Us?
yeah.
Yeah,
fine,
but it
um,
was quite, it was,
But it wasn't just the Jaws itself, it was like 24 grand. But then I think they got other stuff, I think they got I don't know, I mean,
how many years was that though?
that was in 2014, I think, 14, 15.
Because I thought they refused to buy the Jaws of Life.
I remember.
I thought they wouldn't do that.
And maybe that's why it got back, I don't know, so that's
Yeah,
why,
I
that's
remember.
why he's researching,
Okay, all right.
so I just,
They used that money that was in the fund. Because I
they
remember,
may have refused putting it on the ballot, but then they decided to use the money out of the CI, I don't know, I'm just,
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, they
okay.
didn't put it on the ballot, and I remember, it's a long time ago.
Was it you? Were you in office? No.
it might have been his
I
first year.
remember them talking about it.
Well,
So-
okay, so we
I'm not
we
sure.
can't think about that. All right.
I'd say we have 20 anyways, but whether it's more than that, I don't know. And then, last year we put 75 in.
Yeah, but we just bought that fire truck.
Right, no, but I'm just saying, so therefore another 75 might go in there, so we'd be close to 100 in there. If the 75 is approved.
Okay, so
Yeah, I mean, so again, you could. These are the funding options I see. Then there's a bunch of them, but you can do it on a lease program and do the whole amount. You know, maybe with a small down payment or whatever, but you just you do it over a 3 or 4 year, whatever time frame. 5, again, right now we can't go past 3 years because of that. So, but we could structure this as long as it passed. I mean, so 3 years it would be fairly expensive per year. If you divide 3 into 200, I mean, 70 grand a year. So we could thereabouts. I mean, so you could do it that way. You could pay half of it up front with money and then lease the second half. Or any portion. You could use a CIP and then just a one-time lump sum on the ballot. I talked to Jordan, we have a pretty good surplus
like
in the general fund.
yeah.
I don't have exact numbers, but talking to him.
Do you guys have the meeting? Because there's people out here waiting.
Yeah, they can come on in. Sure.
Says come on in.
Yeah, I know.
Did you lock the door?
No,
No,
I don't think
no,
it's
it's unlocked.
locked. No, it's just that it was noisy.
Yeah.
Okay.
We could. Hey, yeah, come on in and have a seat, and please sign in.
Okay.
The doors is closed, so it kind of gets
Because it
kind of
was
noisy
noisy
out there.
out there.
So it shouldn't be locked. Nope. So we probably can get 100,000 out without hurting. That's on a conservative basis without hurting our cash flow. I mean, that would have to be still voted on by the people, but we wouldn't have to. So we could appropriate out of general fund, but we wouldn't have to raise that money. So I don't know. I mean, there's a bunch of different ways that we can do it. And I just. It's my belief that we need to get this done because we have 2 pretty old ambulances and this one's old and we've already had a situation where both ambulances were down because of repairs and we need another one. So but I don't know. So I'm trying to find a way that the voters will approve, a funding method that works for as many people as possible.
So to let you know right now, A1 is out of service.
Okay.
It's got a power issue.
Is that the one that was out of service before?
Well, they both were out of service before.
Yeah.
So the oldest one
Okay.
is out of service right now because there's a power issue.
Yep.
And also going down the road, you can smell diesel fumes coming into the cab.
Okay.
So.
Is that the one that had the exhaust issue too?
Nope, that was the other truck.
Okay. So the diesel might be that might be an exhaust issue as well?
Mhm.
All right, so we haven't done anything with the engine yet?
Nope, not yet. They wanna give it, a week or two so they can set one guy on it totally for the time being.
Okay. So I don't necessarily have an answer, I like to kind of bring it to the budget committee and see what they think might work. I don't, you know, I mean, yeah, we could try to come up with something, I just, I think if we take, hi, come on in, have a seat, if you could just please sign in. I think using surplus will help it get passed, because we're not raising taxes
Well,
for that.
I agree.
I mean, yes, we could take that money towards taxes, but I'm just thinking is that, you know, and that surplus builds up because it's excess money over the different years that go back to the general fund. So that money has already basically been raised. So I think I think using that for this would help. I was kind of hoping that would have enough in CIP, and with that would pay for the whole thing. I'm not sure we do. Now, if that balance went way down, would be close. You know, so I mean, again, if it's, you know, but if we do 75 in the CIP and then we have plus the current balance, if that's at 20, then that puts us at 95. Because then we do, you know, 110 or whatever, 120 out of that, we probably could. So I mean, I think, you know, but that's, you know, so basically I think that's the way to do it, and then it's ours. It's not, we're not making a payment on it, we're not. What was your other, you had thought about not turning this thing in and turning it into a forest vehicle?
Yeah, basically, it's foil drive vehicle, it's old enough that we could put a flatbed on the back of it, take the box off it, put a flatbed on the back and turn it into a brush unit, because we have a skid unit already that was given to us. And we could turn it into an actual brush unit where if we have to go out into the woods, it'll sit lower compared to the reels on the other forestry truck. I mean, we could actually get out through the woods, and it's old enough so if we do damage to the body and stuff like that, it's, you know, it's one of those things where you can actually, pardon to say, we can beat on it to get out into the woods if we have to.
Right.
So, and that's
And a flatbed, it becomes a utility vehicle as well, so
What
if
are
you
you
had
gonna do with the body?
the body can go to the junkyard.
scrap metal. I just saw a picture of a.
Did you see that?
I saw that of an
Yeah.
ambulance in a big metal bin that they were, you know, so maybe somebody, you said it's metal, so I mean,
Yeah.
it ought to be salvageable somehow. I just, you know, again, that's another, I mean, so we don't, on that one, we wouldn't get the trade-in value, but for $3,800, it might be more useful for us.
And if we're doing work on the motor and stuff like that, it might be.
Well,
That's the one, right?
That's the same one that they're talking about doing work on the motor, so. Because I had said to him, I had second thoughts, so we talked about, yeah, go ahead and fix it. I said, well, we're gonna know in 4 months whether something passes. So do we wait 4 months and then, if nothing passes, then put the money into the
We're
engine?
8 months behind.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, do we wait? I mean, yeah, we're 8 months behind, but I mean, you know, it's one of those that we are gonna know in 4 months. You know, even though we may have to wait another 4 months, but then his idea about if we're gonna turn it into a brush truck anyways, well then, if we're gonna do that anyways, then fixing it now or soon isn't necessarily a waste of money. Because we're gonna get a use out of the scrap truck anyways. So I don't, thoughts? Do you like that idea? Brush truck?
What's nice is
I don't like spending 200,000, period.
I know. But what do we do when we have no ambulance?
It got knocked down 2 years ago, a year ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't a $200,000 ambulance.
No, I know what it was. I mean, coming right back, it's asking for trouble. Coming right back with an ambulance. Let him be here for a year and then
Yeah, but it's not, I don't think it's not based on him, it's based on a need. I mean,
it's not a want.
I mean, this isn't, if we needed it last year, we still need it this year. It's not like we don't need it. I mean, we're putting a ton of money into it for repairs. I mean,
Just the bills that were given to me, from some of the maintenance records, there's been over $6,000 in the past 2 years put in. So if we're adding $2 more thousand, that's another $8. And when's it gonna stop? That's the problem. I mean, if it's not on the road constantly, like an ambulance is and uses a brush truck, I mean, that's, it's all in town, it doesn't go out far.
what do you think?
Well, obviously, I think we have to put it on the ballot.
Okay.
How we're gonna pay for it is the question.
Right.
Obviously.
Right. Did you want to have us try to figure it out and present an idea to the budget committee, or do you want to throw the options out in the budget committee and see
No,
what they
I
think?
think we need to do the options. I mean,
Okay.
I'd rather not lease it, but that's just, if we can afford not to do that.
Yes,
Can I be recognized?
sure.
Alright, I'm Jeff Adams. I live here, resident in Lebanon for almost 30 years now.
Okay.
The ambulance bell came up 2 years ago. I was shot down then, and we just saw that video about you guys saying you didn't have much money, and that the school thing would give that much more money back to the town to buy whatever you want. But I guess how does this committee here, the 3 years, decide to put $200,000 out without a ballot?
So one, we're not putting anything out. We put it on the ballot for the
Right.
people to vote on.
Well, you were just saying, well, why don't we just bring it to the budget committee and let them decide?
So the budget committee, so what happens
I'm
is
familiar with what they do. Yep.
okay, so we get advice from the budget committee.
Okay.
They have to vote on an item for whether they approve or disapprove, and that goes to the people.
For a vote on it. Okay.
That's right. All this goes to the people for a vote.
Okay. All right. The way
So
you're
we-
making it sound like they're just gonna approve it.
No, we approve what goes on the ballot. The selectmen do.
Yep.
So we could choose not to put something.
Answer my question. I just thought you were saying just give them 200,000. You're saying 6,000 repairs. Another 2,000 is 8,000. That's still 192,000 cheaper than 200,000. That's just the way I took that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sorry about that. Misunderstood.
No. So, I would agree as far as not doing a payment. I tend to agree with that. So I mean, is it CIP and
Well, I don't know, we gotta figure that out first, I guess.
I
Well-
mean, it just means that we don't have as much left in CIP if we do CIP and surplus.
Mhm.
Would you be leaning towards that?
What?
CIP and surplus?
Yes.
As a way to fund it?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, that's kind of where I would be leaning towards.
Mhm.
The exact balance, how much is out of which one.
Mhm.
I know we don't know yet, we need to wait.
Right, but yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. And we'll have better numbers, we'll have numbers that we can then bring to the budget committee to see hopefully how they think.
Mhm.
Okay. And did you wanna go with a brush truck? Is that the avenue that you'd like to go?
I'd like to,
Okay.
so, but I mean, it is,
It's $3,800, I mean, it depends on, and then what do you think, how much is a flatbed to throw on it?
I'm
I mean,
not
how
exactly
much,
sure.
to take off the cab and to put a flatbed, what do you think that costs?
We just gotta find somebody to do that. I can find somebody.
Just
that-
a ballpark number, I mean, I don't know, I
Yeah.
mean,
Well, you're losing
Maybe.
$3,000.
right,
3,800, yeah.
right.
yeah.
Yeah. That plus the cost of having the box removed and a flatbed put on it. That's basically the cost.
Cause we have the toolboxes already to put on the side, plus we have the skid pump already, so.
Yep.
And we have the radios from the ambulance that we can transfer over.
Yep.
So,
Okay. All right, what else you got?
So here's this is the power load stretcher. Basically, the ambulance has different types of stretchers that you can buy. And right now, this stretcher here that we're currently looking at is a power load stretcher, which is hydraulic electronic. It'll be on the truck that we use primarily. So what we're trying to do is decrease the amount of back injuries or injuries when lifting patients into the ambulance. Right now, I went out and I called the town's insurance carrier for workers' comp.
Yep.
And on the very back is their report that they supplied us on the corporate costs of back pain. And just about at the bottom of the page.
Do I not have am I on the wrong thing? Oh,
Yeah, it's this.
Yeah, that's the
package.
quote, and then that one right there. Yep.
this one?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So at
Because
the,
I don't have a
down
picture.
here.
Okay.
yep, so the
Okay.
paragraph, at the end, it says, in addition, reports have shown that the average cost of a back injury related to workers' comp claims can be between $40,000 and $80,000 per employee. So, doing some research, I came across, talking to one of the employees over at Frisbee. They just settled on a $1.5 million back injury. So, these injuries, it's a health and safety issue more than anything else. What this power load stretcher will do is you release the stretcher with the patient's on the ambulance already. If you release the button on the stretcher, you pull the stretcher out, and it automatically still holds the stretcher up while you're not lifting at all. You just press a button, it lowers down, and it will release from the ambulance altogether. And it'll be vice versa. You bring it up to bring it back in, you set the wheels in, hit the button, and it lifts for you. You don't have to do any lifting at all. This helps with uneven surfaces. This helps with, I have a guy who's 6'7" or 6'5", and then if his partner is the one that's on duty, Jess, she's like 5 foot. So, there's no opposites in lifting and stuff like that. So, I'm looking to do one power load stretcher, and the price is on the quote itself. Unfortunately, it's $43,000, but we can get it a little bit cheaper because the ambulance, the guy who I like to go with the ambulance with, he gets it at a cheaper cost, and he is more than willing to give us his cost on both the stretcher and the power load system.
And then we have a power stretcher right now, correct?
We have a power stretcher right now.
For A2, which is our
A2,
primary.
yes.
And then A1 has
The manual
just a manual, good old.
backbreaker.
Okay. Right. So then the power stretcher that we have would go.
Do we ever have two calls at the same time that we would need to worry about having
Yep.
two power stretchers?
Yes. There's a lot of times we'll have motor vehicle accidents. We'll have 3 or 4 patients. So we need to get 2 ambulances there.
Does
Or
a regular stretcher
another.
have a normal resistance to reduce the weight when lifting anyways?
The normal stretchers do not.
They do not.
Normal stretchers are actual, muscle and lifting and body mechanics and stuff like that.
Okay.
So, then A1, the one that we have now would go into there, so it doesn't have a power loader. It's not gonna load by itself, but at least
Right.
it will
It'll have
lift,
a power
at
stretcher.
least it will lift up, to get that in.
So all studies that were done were done by universities. One was Ohio State University. The other one is Waterloo, University of Waterloo, which does an EMS, musculoskeletal injuries. It's quite a cost, and unfortunately, and you know, if we had this $43,000 over 10 years, if we save 10 back injuries or 5 back injuries over 10 years, I mean, that's could be $40,000 a piece, and that'll pay for the stretcher itself.
So what is it we're thinking about doing? Just putting it out there and seeing what they wanna
Don't know, I
do?
mean, we need it. You're gonna talk about the vent system too or not?
I have that too,
Okay,
but I'm gonna try to do something different.
Okay. I think the thing with this, at least, there's a couple of ways, I mean, but there's a loader here, which essentially has to be mounted to the ambulance. So that's, I believe that's correct, that's mounted to the floor or
Mounted
whatever.
to the floor.
And so, doing that at the same time that a new ambulance is built. Doing that at the same time a new ambulance is built would actually probably save us a little bit of money, but it's at the factory. Not huge amounts, but it'll probably save us a little bit.
Plus, it's actually if you put it in at the factory, it's crash rated.
So, so that's the issue about that. Did you check into the possibility of just the loader?
Just the loader is, yeah, we can change it over if we had to. But
So there's a possibility of doing just the loader? I think there's a kit that would allow the power structure that we have now to work with a loader. But that means on the back of the ambulance still has the old manual. So the only thing we were getting out of that is an automatic loader primary. Yes?
Excuse me, just a quick question for you. That power stretcher you're talking
Yes.
about, I'm just a little confused. I mean, that's probably the right cost, that's not what I'm confused about. But is there a paramedic from when I was running a couple of years ago in Santa, they tell me there was no paramedic in the town of Lebanon, right?
I'm the paramedic.
Okay, you are? Okay, so are you the one from New Hampshire that's coming over?
No, I am actually the fire chief.
The fire chief, okay. Oh, so you're the new fire chief,
Yes.
gotcha. Okay, so there is a paramedic right now. So ambulance service now
Paramedic service
is coming from Lebanon.
from Lebanon.
Okay, so
And occasionally, I can't be here for everything.
right.
You know, and occasionally we do have.
Well, the reason I asked is my grandson was at my house. We had the paramedic had to come in from Sanford.
Yep.
Because he got hurt.
Yep.
So I was just getting a little confused. I didn't realize we had a paramedic here now. So.
Yep. Actually, there's another one that's on shift, a couple of days a week or 1 day a week, and we're looking at hiring more to cover during the days.
Gotcha.
So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
So yeah, I mean, that's something to think about. Again, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to look at, I don't know how much all the budgets are gonna be raised at yet. So that's a consideration. So, but again, I think I would not wanna add this. I mean, we can do this as a separate line item type of thing. I mean, as a separate thing.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's fair that it's.
Just to let it stand on its own.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, right, what else you got?
So here's two things that are health and safety as well. Now, but the only problem, and that's not really not a problem. I'm actually going to file for grants on these two, but I don't know if it's going to pass or not. So this is 103. So this is the proposal for the crime event system.
You have one follows?
Yep. So basically, when you start the vehicles up, right now, all the diesel fumes, the carcinogenics go into the station.
I think you got the master.
That's all right. So all the diesel fuel goes into the station. Here's actual what it looks like. So it spreads throughout. If I'm sitting in the office and they start tank 5 up or the ambulances, it just flows right in and it smokes up really bad. And it does, if you go upstairs in the meeting room upstairs, where the heating system is, and you just touch your fingers across the ceiling where the heating system comes out, it's nothing but black soot. So.
What if you drove them in?
Well, it's the same thing. Back in, drive in, it doesn't matter. All the diesel fumes are just spreading throughout the whole station. So the quotes that I got are on page 3. Each station was $32,300 for the Prime event. So I'm not looking to go for both stations right off the bat. I'm looking to do one at a time. Because we don't know what's going to happen with the other station over on the Upper Crossroad yet. So I'm gonna apply for grants for this. FEMA has a grant out right now that's due in the end of March for health and safety. So this does fall into that. So I'll be able to apply for that. But if we don't get, we won't know until August if we get it or not. So how do we approach this? This is an actual need, unfortunately. But, I'm just trying to bring this to your attention. That
How much is the grant for?
the grants, I can get a grant for this, the $32,000 to pay for it.
Okay.
But we do have to the town will have to have some responsibility to pay for it. So it could be maybe
the installation.
like $3,000 or something like that.
Now, can you apply for a grant for each building?
I can. So, but right now, the thought process is to do one and have a good chance to get that one grant to start with, and then maybe do another one next year.
So you want to do one now,
One station now.
where we of the town pay for that.
Nope.
No,
I'm gonna apply for the grant.
you'll apply for the grant. Okay.
Yes. And the following year, I'll apply for another grant.
Is there a reason you won't apply for both at the same time?
Right now is the company is trying to turn the building over to the town. Town has to approve it. There needs to be a lot of work to that building as
To
well.
get it up to code. Okay, I understand now.
So that's why I don't wanna put a lot
You
of,
don't wanna put a filtration system in a building that's not gonna make it to code anyways.
possibly.
Got it.
So, but that's between the town voters and so
And obviously, this wasn't as big of an issue when we were a volunteer force because,
no one is in the station.
Nobody's in the
except
station.
for that driver when they
So
were
now-
driving out.
right, so now you have per diem that are in there 16 hours a day,
Yes.
breathing that stuff.
Yep.
So that's another reason why the other station isn't as important, because that's more or less just a housing station.
Correct.
So,
So I will be filing for a grant. But I mean, it should be discussed
Yep.
just in case.
Yep. Okay,
So my last one,
okay.
traffic
Okay,
system
on 202,
on 202.
we can't get DOT to pay for it?
No, DOT won't even. And one more. So basically, this is a traffic signal, not really a traffic signal, but it's an actual sign with 2 lights on each pole on either side of the station down the road a little bit. It's run by solar power, and we don't have to run any lines to it or electricity. So what happens is, if we're in the station, we're going to a call, we hit the button on the wall, 10 seconds later, the traffic signals activate, just saying, caution, emergency vehicles entering. So right now, from the information I got today from Maine DOT online, since 2008 to present day, There's been 95 accidents from Hubbard to the town line. And the 2016 study of traffic cars per day is over 10,000. That's in 2016. So there's a good risk that we're taking on getting out of the station and going on calls. I have a email into Memic, who's our insurance cover. Okay. So to see if they offer grants as well.
Okay.
So I'm gonna try to do this on a grant itself, because I mean, it's basically the health and safety of the people that are responding to calls.
Yep.
They come out and they get hit by a tractor trailer or something, where they don't stop, which is not good. But so this one I'm gonna actually file for a grant, but I just wanted to let you know what we're doing.
Yes.
Has there ever been an accident of an ambulance or somebody coming out of that station?
I can't say that station, but have you ever seen an ambulance has been in accidents? I was hit by a drunk driver.
The pictures I have.
Okay, I was hit by a drunk driver.
But if we're talking about location of, you're talking about the safety of pulling out of the station.
Yep.
Okay. I think if you're looking at spending a good amount of money.
This is a grant.
I know, and hopefully you get the grant, because it's something we won't have to pay for, but
Right.
otherwise, I don't understand
I won't be,
what the purpose would be if there's never been an issue.
well, just because there doesn't have an issue doesn't mean,
that one won't happen,
Right.
I understand that.
so I'm trying to
That's just with,
be
Proactive.
proactive and not reactive.
okay,
Yeah, the cost of this is $8,200.
that's not bad, but.
Okay, and normally preventative preventative maintenance and preventative, I mean, you do oil changes and you do that to prevent a bigger problem, and so, we're trying to prevent
No.
an accident there, so, I mean, do we wait till there's an accident before we do
I
something?
just didn't wanna see, well, okay. I understand there's the preventative, proactive and reactive.
Yep.
But, of course, with all the other costs that you're mentioning to.
This won't, I'm not even
I
gonna
know,
touch
I
the
know.
budget with it.
Right. So there's still a concern, again, you said if you're gonna get a grant, sometimes they expect you to eat some of the cost.
Right,
They're not
and
gonna give it to you all.
this one,
So,
well, it depends on which grant we file for. Some do, some pay for it all.
right, well, we're talking about a lot of upgrades.
Yep.
For the ambulance, the station, and now the road. So picking and choosing our battles is also something that has to be looked at.
Yep.
And if this is a grant, regardless, you said that it could be possible that we have to eat some of the costs. That's
Yep.
all I'm saying.
This one, actually, I'm not sure which grant I'm gonna file this one under. Some grants actually make you pay a percentage, and some other grants just give you the whole money. So I'm trying to find the one that will just give us the whole money. I don't think the primal vent system, which is the exhaust system for the diesel fuel from the truck, diesel fumes from the truck, that one comes through FEMA, which they don't just give you money for without having some type of cost.
Right.
So,
No, that one I really like because, I mean, you definitely shouldn't be breathing any of those fumes ever.
Yep.
So, but again, when you're looking at doing these 3 separate things that you've listed so far, it's a good amount of money.
it is, and I'm the type of person, I won't do it as a want. I'm the type of person who looks at it as a need. I may be the fire chief, or the paramedic in charge or something. I don't feel I'm the most important person. I feel that the people that I'm trying to protect and save, and my people that work for me in the fire station are the most important. And that's why the health and safety issue I'm bringing up. And this is one of them as well, just in case, being proactive instead of reactive. But I will file grants and try to keep the cost down as much as I can. As the board members here can attest, I already have been looking for cost savings through equipment we buy and stuff like that.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
You got anything else for us?
Oh, thank God. Okay.
Okay.
Chair.
Yeah, I mean, I think we definitely wanna put the ambulance on, we just don't know how the best way to
I
figure that out.
understand.
The stretcher, I think we need to find out where we are budget-wise, overall budget for the entire town.
Mhm.
Just kind of, I don't know how much we're gonna go up, if at
Right.
all. I mean, we probably are going up, just things get more expensive, but I don't,
Yep.
I need to know where we are for that, so.
Yep.
I understand the health and safety ones, yeah, I mean,
Yep.
hopefully we get the grants, and if we don't, I think we'll have to, the next budget cycle, we'll have to seriously review.
Yep.
I don't know, you know, unfortunately, probably don't give feedback, you know, as far as why you don't get a grant, so I mean,
They actually
Do
do.
they?
If you
Okay.
request it, they'll do it.
so maybe it depends on how, you know, if we didn't get it because we didn't
Right.
cross a T or dot an I, or for
Right.
some silly reason, well then,
Right.
you know, but that may be helpful.
I did have a good conversation with Scarborough Fire Chief, Mike Thurlow. I used to work for him. He's very adamant that, you know, because he won a grant for the Plymouth system in 2004.
Mhm.
And he did all 6 of their stations at once.
Wow.
So, I mean, he said he's willing to help us, try to get different things, and he does a lot of grants anyways. So I'll work on that as well, and go from there.
Is the striker, is that a grant thing, or is that a FEMA grant that's already gone by?
Well, FEMA's getting picky on what they will allow and what they don't allow. And last I thought they took stretches off those grants,
Okay,
but I can double check and go from there and apply from there as well.
okay.
So.
You guys got anything?
No,
Okay.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
thank you.
Chip, is there any place I can find some more chairs?
This one.
More than that,
Maybe this one too.
some in the bathroom.
Yeah, there's probably some in the bathroom, there's probably,
Can grab some?
yeah, no,
Good job.
If you have any questions, don't hesitate.
Okay, thanks.
This one right here. Helpless, I got it up.
About 7 minutes until I don't wanna start early.
No,
So let's see, we can talk, here's an easy one. Waste management.
that's the sort, right?
Yeah, you guys like to get the waste management, the rate. So, yeah, I was actually off by 2 pennies. When I did mine, I had 139.19, it's actually 139.20, and I had 172.50 something, and it's 56.
So for the on the haul rate, is that what we pay right now, or is that
So
the 172.56?
that's gonna be the new one. Right now, we pay, 1/3, where am I?
How are you? Good, I just got charged for copies. I just got
No, but that's I don't have what the old rate was, but it was 3.5% less than that.
Okay,
It's like 160 something, if I remember correctly from the bill.
so the demo, that's the big one.
Right, that's 139.20. So that's why, I mean, I haven't adjusted for these new numbers, but
Right,
that's when I took a look at this, and I did, it's a solid waste, figuring where we're at now, plus what we're on schedule, I figured, let's just call it 2,400. Demo, if we're 162, year-to-date, we're at 133, which puts us at 266 and change. So 300 is not a stretch if we're keep increasing. I mean, if we don't keep increasing, then, and then recycling tons, I just put it at 420, which is basically just double of where this was year to date.
right.
And these year to date is only half the year anyways. But we're not getting as much credit for this anymore. So it's costing us close to 30. So, and then trips is for the demo.
Okay, yeah.
So trips is for the demo, and so and so I just roughly I did it by that based on what they told me our trip count was. So that's what I just budgeted for, and that's where I got the 310 number from. So and then you have these. You have the 200 a month for the compactor, and you got 2 of them, and then you got $50 a month for the open tops. How many open tops? How many open tops do we have? We have 4 of them.
Okay. When we talk about the demo, that's 3 boxes. Okay.
So can you just say that? I couldn't really hear you. So we have 3 open tops?
We have 3 open tops.
And that's how much?
And those are what we hit with trips for.
Okay, so
We pay $50 a month for
having them?
just having them. And we pay $200 a month for the compactors.
And we have how many
And
of
we have 2
those?
of them. That's just the recycling and the
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Vacation.
Oh, that's right.
And it's these tonnage rates. That's basically what we pay.
Winter, summer.
Like I said, so it's that 310, but that also doesn't include this.
Okay.
These, so I have to add those. So
Okay.
we're gonna have to
what did
update
we-
the transfer station.
And what did we go?
I think we're at like 290 something. We're gonna have to,
Can't hear anyways.
yeah, so that's gonna have to go up. So,
Okay.
alright? So that's that. Oh, Karen Mead. If you want, come sit up here. Or you can sit there. You can sit at the table if you want.
Do you want me to come sit
Sure,
with them?
sure.
We weren't sure if you were ready for us.
Yeah, we're getting there. We can't hear anyways. Hi, I'm Chip Harlow.
Beth O'Connor.
Hi, Beth. Pleasure to see you. You got out early?
It was canceled. I got out really early.
Okay. Because you were up there this
Beth
morning,
got
were you?
out early, yeah.
Was it because of the snow? I mean,
No,
you didn't have snow
my-
up there, did you?
My meeting got moved to Tuesday,
I
so.
whipped through all my work lickety split today,
Is
killed a lot of
Jen,
bills.
is Jen coming, do you know? Jen's
Jen
not?
is
Was
not
she canceled?
coming.
No, she's
No,
not, okay.
she's not coming.
So we don't have to wait, so we're not waiting for her. Okay. Alright, do you know anybody else that's coming that we're waiting on perhaps? I mean, I can hold for a couple more minutes.
I don't think so, if any, I know there's a representative from the school board here,
Okay.
Joanne Potter
Yeah.
is
And
here.
Nancy.
And Nancy.
Yep, Nancy Liebert.
Yep.
And
Were
basically,
were there any selectmen from North Berwick? I had heard they were coming, they're not?
I don't believe so, they
don't know.
might be.
Okay, that's fine.
I mean, do
No,
you
that's
have
fine.
other business
No,
that you
no,
have
no,
to
no,
do?
no, I mean, I'm just thinking, I just don't want, I mean, everybody's raring to go, I just didn't wanna hold things up but I don't wanna start early if somebody's coming at 6.
Not that I know of, and
Okay.
Nobody communicated that to me.
Okay. Well, we can wait 2 minutes, it's no big deal.
we were over me on things.
Huh?
She's my secretary.
Yeah.
She calls me and lets me know what's,
Not really, that is not true.
but she does call me
I
and let
had
me
the
know
time
what-
3 different times. At first I heard 5:15, 6:15,
Mhm.
6. I don't know if there was.
I was coming straight from Augusta here when Karen.
Well, the agenda was originally for a 5 o'clock executive session, but with a possible large turnout, I didn't feel that was appropriate,
Oh,
so.
so
we-
maybe
so
what
I-
was
I-
online wasn't
I-
refreshed
so
or
the-
something.
Well, I just changed that today, I mean, cause I didn't know, a lot of this didn't happen, so I mean, I squeezed this past weekend, the 6 o'clock in, so I had to kind of move things around, that was put in. So on the agenda, it was always 6 o'clock for this.
While we're waiting, can I ask for some budget related documents or do I have to do a freedom of information request?
You can ask, yeah, what budget related?
I just am interested in the town's contingency fund balance as well as legal fees.
You looking for year-to-date numbers?
Yeah, just, why don't we do from the fiscal year, just the activity, and then up to today's balance is fine.
Let's see, fund balance and year-to-date. Legal?
Legal and contingency.
Okay,
I don't have to have it tonight, but that would be great.
that's fine. Well, 6 if nobody has, we'll get started. with this part of the meeting. The goal of this section of the meeting, I did a prepared statement because otherwise I'll ramble. As some people that know me, I can be long-winded, so I try to do this to keep my comments short and brief and succinct. The goal of the meeting is to hopefully start the repair process for our relationship with North Berwick, turn down the rhetoric, and work on moving forward with solutions. So I'd like to start by explaining briefly how we got here. In early January, the town manager from Berwick reached out to us in hopes of meeting to discuss the school cost-sharing formula. We didn't give it any thought as a board, we didn't give it any thought. And so like good neighbors, we arranged to meet. They agreed to come to our regularly scheduled meeting, which is on Thursdays. So we posted it on our agenda, which is public, posted on our website. And the meeting was streamed live to YouTube, as is normal for all our public meetings. So as you can see right there, there's a camera with a little blue light on. You see the blue, so this is being streamed live. It was said that meeting was taped by somebody else. It wasn't. It was ours. We've been doing this for quite a while. It's very open. It's part of our process of trying to be more open to everybody so they can see it. So in our eyes, it certainly wasn't secret. And in fact, I'm actually happy that we videoed because none of this would have happened if it hadn't been. The meeting happened and everybody can view it. Many already have. I think it's got over 1,000 views. So it's definitely well viewed. I think this is a testament to how Lebanon is trying to be open to the public. I knew nothing about the cost-sharing formula when Berwick reached out. Didn't know how it was calculated. In fact, I didn't even know it could be changed. It was a given. As a resident, I never gave it a thought. I also don't know the history behind it, nor the process, if any, to change it. So the meeting, if anything, to us, was informational. So that was my first mistake. As ignorance is no excuse. I should have researched or reached out to somebody that was more in the know. This fact alone started the sequence of events that led us to where we are today. For this, I am truly sorry. During the meeting, I missed many opportunities to question why this whole process was being done by one town and not all the towns together. But I missed them. I am sorry that I didn't recognize the red flags. As chairman, I should have, and I take full responsibility for our actions. So specifically, I'd like to first apologize to North Berwick. The meeting, and thus our actions, were unprofessional and divisive. I had hoped that Chairman Wells and Vice Chair Cowan were going to be here tonight. I had heard they were, because I wanted to formally apologize to them face to face rather than in a written statement. I don't blame North Berwick for being angry and upset. If I were in their shoes, I would be too. I will strive to earn their trust back. Secondly, I'd like to apologize to the residents of Lebanon. While my focus was on saving tax dollars, I lost sight of the bigger picture and allowed a meeting to happen in a way that was damaging to the noble community. For that, I am deeply sorry. Next, I'd like to apologize for my greedy bastard comment. While said jokingly, it's no excuse. It was totally inappropriate. Again, my sincere apology, and I will try better in controlling my mouth. Lastly, I'd like to apologize to my fellow select board members. As chairman, I take this job very seriously, and I feel that I failed them by not having their back and steering us clear of this minefield. I will try to do better. I watched the recent Selectmen meetings in both Berwick and North Berwick. They both happened on this past Tuesday. And I would like to commend North Berwick on how they have handled this. While I know they are probably, and I'm trying to control my mouth, so I said mad, but there's probably another word I prefer to put there. To say the least, they have conducted themselves with the utmost professionalism. While unfortunately a selectman in Berwick felt it appropriate to bash Lebanon, saying, I quote, Lebanon has a poorly run government. Bashing other towns and pointing fingers isn't going to get us anywhere or help. I mentioned at the outset that I like to focus on solutions. Now that this cost share formula issue is out in the daylight, perhaps there's a reason. Things change over time. The last time this issue was taken up that I know of was November of 2002, when there was a vote. I don't know the background. I've heard there were even secret conversations back then. I've also heard that they agreed to review every 10 years. Well, it's been 16 years going on 17, and I don't think there's been a review yet. Not sure how that ball got dropped. Now, currently, I don't know what is fair or what is not. I'm a numbers guy, and I do know that you can slice and dice numbers any way you want to support your own thesis. I'm not here to show any numbers tonight. For all I know, North Berwick may be paying too much, and Berwick should be paying more. And we're just right, almost like the three bears or whatever that Goldilocks was. But in researching, I did find that other districts have used a formal process to review the cost share formula. A committee is formed with members from all member towns, and a facilitator is used, who I believe is paid for by the state Department of Education. And they come in and they help guide, and I think a lot of them actually are ex-retired superintendents. So they guide and moderate the meetings. Because as you can imagine, these meetings probably have some emotions involved. Because the losers get their taxes raised and the winners get their taxes lowered. Never a good, and as we can see what's happened in the past here, never a good time. So perhaps this process is already in place. I haven't heard anyone bring that up in any of these meetings. So my guess is it probably isn't. We're using a formula developed in 1967. Again, I don't know the history behind it. And the last time it was reviewed, it was in 2002. And that was actually the vote. And so my guess is it probably started in 2001 as far as the review process. A lot has changed since 1967 and 2002. So perhaps we should be spending some energy on this. We know nothing is happening this year. So maybe cooler heads can prevail. And we can come up with a plan that works for all the towns. And most importantly, the children. I'd like to close by my comment by again apologizing to North Berwick. And again, I hope Lebanon can regain their trust. I will also, or I should say, we will also be drafting a letter of apology from the board tonight to the entire Board of Selectmen in North Berwick. With that, I'll let my other selectmen have any comments that they want, and then I will be more than happy to open it up to the floor.
Open it up.
You good?
Open it up.
All right.
Start.
Go ahead.
Hi folks, I am Representative Beth O'Connor. I am the representative for Berwick. I'm part of North Berwick, House District 5. I was also at one time a representative for Lebanon, and I did serve on the school board for 8 years, a job that I took very seriously. And I can give you a little history on what you said. We actually, yes, there was a vote on this and the funding formula, and it failed. It failed. The reason that it failed was because it was not good for all three towns. It was divisive. And the people were given the information, they made the choice. All three towns, even the towns that would save money. Then in 2007, the law changed and it gave every town the opportunity to look at their funding formula and adopt a state funding formula. That was in 2007. Our school board, which I was on at the time, chose not to adopt that formula because we appreciated North Berwick, we appreciated Lebanon, we appreciated Berwick as three. We're noble strong. And I want to make sure you all know that. So we did not want to see that change. This was brought to me by Mr. Eldridge, and it was brought to me late December, early January to change this funding. And I've been very busy, and I said to him, let me look at it. If it is fair and equitable, I will put this legislation in. He showed me the legislation. The legislation was not fair and equitable. I looked at it and I sat at his desk with just him, unfortunately, so it's my word against his, but I think he will say that this is so. I said, Steve, I can't put this in. This hurts Lebanon. I mean, this hurts our district. This hurts North Berwick. I represent North Berwick. And I said, I don't think that this is fair and equitable. I also asked if the school board knew. Dustin Price and Steve Connolly told me they did not. It was inferred that the school board wanted to just kick the can down the road on this. So I didn't know if this was so or not. I called Steve Connolly. I was contacted by Dustin Price. I also contacted Dwayne Moran because I wanted more information. Because if I'm going to submit legislation, I want more information. I explained to Mr. Eldridge at that point in time, there was no way that I could possibly submit any legislation. We're in the short session. The short session is the emergency session, which means only bills of an emergency can come forward. Well, we've had this funding in place since 1967, so I'm not thinking this is a big emergency. And furthermore, I am a constitutionalist. And I've challenged all 10 members of the Legislative Council on the emergency session for bills that they have let forward that are not emergencies. I have also challenged them on their joint rules and their violations of such. Therefore, there was no way on God's green earth that they were going to let me put a piece of legislation in, regardless of the fact that Mr. Eldridge's son-in-law is the chief of staff to our Speaker of the House. So, that being said, it wasn't going to happen. Then I hadn't even thought about this at all. I thought I saw this video from this meeting. And I've got to tell you the truth. I was so horrified I drank an entire bottle of wine watching that video. I almost fell off my chair. I have served on school boards. I have served as a treasurer for multiple different organizations. I've served in the legislature. I have never, ever seen a meeting like that in my life. And so I wasn't very happy. In fact, I was infuriated, which led me to do my homework and make these phone calls. So I dropped the ball as well, and I owe everyone an apology. I should have reached out immediately when I learned that not everybody had been contacted. And that is my fault, and I can't apologize enough. But I'm glad that this has happened because now everything's out in the open. Everything. And it is important, and I've always thought this, that we work together. And that being said, I brought you folks some documents if there's any left over. These are some of my greatest concerns. When I looked at this, I knew that there's two sides to every story, and sometimes the truth lies somewhere in the middle. And this won't take long at all, but I just want to tell you what this funding formula, there's a certain way that is formulated. And in Berwick, as we speak, we have 1,364 students, or 45.9%. And the cost per student that Berwick pays is $5,261.67. Lebanon has 996 students, or 32.93%, and their total cost per student is $5,713. North Berwick contributes a lot. They have 665 students, or 21.98%. Their total cost per student is $8,046.96. Now, I look at these costs and I do believe, that North Berwick is paying their fair share. Especially when I look at this next year for incoming kindergarten high needs socialized program for next year. 66.67% of those students are from Berwick. 22.22% are from North Berwick, and 11.11% are from Lebanon. The cost for Berwick for those students, kindergartnens, is a little over $173,000. Lebanon, $28,000. North Berwick, $57,000. Out of district placement for very difficult children, Berwick, 79.14% of it, or $391,000. Lebanon, $58,000. North Berwick, $44,000. So that's almost $500,000 for special needs. All in all, the total cost of special education expenditure high need category by town, Berwick is $1,916,582. Lebanon is $693,583, and North Berwick is $534,877, to the tune of $3,145,042. Excuse me, I'm so mad. So seeing this, I honestly think that we need to work with North Berwick. We need to work with this board. I'm so sorry. With Karen, and I know she has things to say. And obviously, it's time for me to shut up.
Do you have copies for them for that?
And I do.
Okay. I think that is going to be really helpful for you to understand the real, true figures and the way things truly are.
And there's a few extras here, if anybody wants them.
So are you finished with that whole the school funding piece?
Yes, I am finished with the school funding. I can answer any questions at all. I just know that I want every one of us at the table together, because this is about our kids. About our kids, our families, our friends, our district as a whole. And that's why I'm here, and I know that it's not over. I also want to say, even if I wanted to, I couldn't submit legislation.
Right.
But now I am so infuriated by this whole thing, and I feel like I was used, and I was stupid, and I admit that.
Trusting.
But trusting.
I wouldn't call us stupid either.
And I am a very trusting person, and I should be less trusting, but I'm going to tell you right now, I will not submit that legislation if Mr. Eldridge has such a good connection in the House of Representatives in the Speaker's office. Let the Speaker put that legislation in.
Can I speak on that real quick too? The problem I had,
I'd like to let
that's fine.
them, and then I'll open up to everybody, and you can have your say.
Absolutely.
We're
And
here,
I'll take questions.
we're here as long as we have to be here tonight, so.
I'll be quick and simple.
Okay, so do you want me to talk about the ugly meeting first, or do you want to talk about the status of the Lebanon schools? I say we get the worst out of the way.
Sure.
Okay. So with regard to what we just heard and what was said in the public meeting with regard to Speaker Gideon, there was a couple different things. Because of those public comments and chatter in the State House halls, because of the public video, Speaker Gideon and I had a conversation. And she's mortified by her name being dropped in a way that it alluded to we have an in with her, Berwick's town manager saying that. I wanted to immediately advocate for her employee. Is it the chief of staff?
Chief of staff, I believe his name is Eric.
See, I thought that was Johnny, but
It's-
irrelevant. That was completely, and I know it wasn't this board that said it, but I do understand, I believe that this board was chairing the meeting. So, along with that, a comment that was made from one of the Berwick selectmen with regard to a very sexist comment about Speaker Gideon. I just want people to know she is aware of it, and I feel very strongly that this isn't about her employee, and I certainly didn't want him to have any trouble as a result of that meeting. That was very inappropriate for that to be said. She is very upset that people would think she would go behind the rules, if you will. And I'll give you an example to how hard it is second session to get a bill in. I think probably most people in this room could admit that the number one crisis in the state right now is drug trafficking, and it's the opiate addiction problem.
Absolutely.
I submitted a bill second session for a full-time state police drug interdiction unit, funded with existing resources, no new money. And it went down partisan lines. I appealed it with the speaker. She didn't even put that through. So I think there was a lot of misunderstanding to the legislative process that you can't just put a bill in any time. The first session is when a legislator can put anything in. But very, very little gets in the second session. But I had a few things to talk about, and I had some questions. And I will say, Chip, I really appreciate your statement. It means a lot to me to hear that apology, and I hope it goes a long way. I will say, and this is not the board's fault, but since the North Berwick meeting that Beth and I were at 2 nights ago, there's been very unfortunate continued comments online with regard. One thing, for example, is I don't think anybody in Lebanon should be commenting to North Berwick's actions right now. And I'll just say, I've said at this table, you all know that I have, and if this was happening to Lebanon by the other 2 towns, Brian Dench is the first person I would hire to protect this town's interests. So to be there at that meeting and apologize on behalf of the board and then to later bash Dwayne Mooring is disgusting to me. And I don't know that you knew that, but that's happening. That's not helpful to mend the fence. So I had some questions and some other things. So one thing I was curious about when I saw the meeting is, did you know ahead of time that North Berwick wasn't coming?
Yeah, it was a meeting with Berwick.
Okay, and you didn't think that there was anything wrong with that?
No, I don't, again, per my comment, the funding formula, I don't know what the process is.
Yes.
We didn't talk about it ahead of time. It was one email, they reached out to us. So we didn't know whether we wanted to meet there, meet here. They said, we'll meet here. Okay. Our normal meeting is Thursday. Okay, we'll be there.
So nobody thought that if Berwick and North Berwick were doing that without us, that
But
never...
there wasn't, we were talking about the formula. There wasn't anything about changing it.
It
Well,
was
and-
supposed to be a fact finding.
Well, right, and I
There was
don't
nothing-
think anybody has any issue with the fact of what was being discussed as far as the subject matter. It was that not all stakeholders were at the table.
And I don't disagree. Again, I apologize. I didn't
It's
pick up on the
okay,
fly.
it's just these questions I had before
that's fine.
your statement.
That's fine.
I'll skip over ones that I don't think are relevant any longer. One thing I know that Representative O'Connor and I both wanted to address, and as well as Representative Parker, because we've spoken with her, is the partisan comments about Beth and I being Republicans. So
I can address that.
I'd like to know why that
At least
matters.
why-
I'd
at
like
least
to
why.
finish what I'm
Okay,
saying.
okay.
Because I don't know why that matters. The 3 of us work very well together for this district. In fact, when I saw the meeting, the first person I contacted was Beth. The second was Jennifer.
Okay.
So I would like it addressed.
Are you,
Yeah, I'm
okay.
done.
So I can't speak for any of the Berwick, which were asking. I had asked some comments whether there was a Republican or a Democrat. And the only reason I did that is this was going before the legislature.
Yep.
And I think you can both agree, what do people do with the legislature? You count votes. Because you're trying to get something passed. So that was my purest interest, is this all Republican side that's backing this supposedly bill? Is it all Democrats? Because that would give me a gauge, is this even gonna pass? And I even said it in the meeting, that my concern was that it would even pass.
Well, school
'Cause
funding is not partisan.
Well, again, I'm not up in Augusta. All I'm saying is I don't care. I'm neither. I mean, I don't even know what party I'm with. So I mean, it's, so quite frankly, I don't like either party right now. But that's just because everything's too divisive. So I don't care.
Well,
So I'm just saying is that's why I asked, was because I was curious about on the vote side, because, and again, you guys do it every day. You count votes.
I work with everyone. I've had legislation with
Yep.
very, very nonpartisan legislation, and I've gotten unanimous votes in the House multiple times.
Yep.
Because it's good for the people.
Yeah.
The other thing, and I'm going to quote the town manager, Steve. He said, "Once we talk to you and you agree to do this, we will talk to our attorney Shannon Monday and we will move forward." So to the board, did it not cross your mind to even consider North Berwick hearing that?
he said he was going to tell North Berwick, because he was right beside me, and he said that. The town manager said that.
I did not hear that.
Yeah, I didn't.
He was right beside, I don't know if he didn't say it loud enough. I know
Thank you.
other men,
No,
the
that's
guys
good,
there said
because-
other things, but
Yeah.
he did say that he was gonna
And my
talk
guess
to
is
them.
if it's going to the
Thank you, I
legislature,
did not hear that.
my guess if it's going to the legislature and you also represent North Berwick, you'd probably tell them this yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
So I don't think
It wouldn't have been
so
our
I don't.
place to.
But my point is I don't disagree with that. But I'm just saying I don't think it would have been a secret if it was going. You would have been telling your constituents.
I didn't even think about it
Yeah.
because I saw how bad the bill was when
Right.
I looked at it.
Right.
And the timing, it just doesn't
And the
happen.
timing.
Yep.
So with regard to your statement, one of the things I had a lot of anxiety about coming into here tonight was my hope that this board is going to reach out to North Berwick. I know that when we went to the meeting at North Berwick Tuesday night, I think Dwayne intended to reach out and try to set up a tri-town meeting. So is it this board's intent to go to that, in good faith and
I haven't
try to
been. Nobody's
mend?
reached out to us.
I think that they will. There was
Well,
a
I'm
talk.
just saying is I can't speak to something that nobody's said a word to me about.
They picked 3 dates and he was going to draft a letter and get it out.
Yeah, I mean, I will say during this whole process, this is the first time anybody's spoken to this board, which I think is a shame. I haven't had a single school board member reach out. I haven't had a single representative. I haven't had a single town say, "Hey, what do you think? What was going on?
Yeah.
Hey, why did you?" To get our side, this is our first chance of hearing
Well,
our side.
communication is key.
So yeah. So
Well, my worry with that is because when I looked at the Berwick video, I really, this is just my personal opinion, I was left feeling Berwick's not coming to the table. I mean, maybe they are, but it wasn't a friendly meeting, and I was just hoping that you all would feel differently about that. So there's like a couple more things. There were comments about, having the ear of the governor. I just again want to publicly state that this governor for 7 years has stated, emphatically his desire for increased consolidation.
Okay.
Not less.
and again, that wasn't said by us, correct?
No, it
Yeah,
was not.
right. So, again, I don't believe this was you. I think this was at the end of the table, but I just want to say this because of the remark. I mean, it seemed like at the end there were two different conversations going on. There was something going on at the end of the table. It seemed like the meeting was adjourned, but it wasn't adjourned. I'll be the first one to say in 26 years in this district, I have not always agreed with Assistant Superintendent Sue Austin. But for the record, there was quite disparaging remarks made about her by, I don't know what her title is, the woman from Berwick. But I just said for the record, the school district is not funding the Ryan House. There seems to be some misinformation about that. So rather than hearing the continued ignorant comments, and I mean, I think she even used profanity, maybe those town leaders should be aware of the drug crisis in Maine and the number of truly homeless kids in the district. I've been at this for 26 years, and I never thought I'd live to see the day that we have kids who basically don't have parents. With that, I just want to say just what I know from teaching here and being in Lebanon for 20 years, things are not good over there. I have some documents for you all with regard to the schools. I guess there's also been some public question on how I know this. I'm going to remark that everything here is public information. I know that, well, first I have a little bit of a leg up because I teach there. And I know the condition of Lebanon Elementary School. But the school board has been talking about this at length, and it's in their minutes. And at some point, we're going to have to do something soon. And with regard to that, did you want a copy of these?
Please, I gave them.
Thank you. Okay. And I have some for school board that are here as well. And because they already know all of this. This document I just passed out is from the principal, Patty Gilly, at both of the Lebanon schools. But that's very detailed. Just going to say that Lebanon Elementary is 65 years old. We are at capacity in both of the Lebanon schools. 5 to 10 years from now, Lebanon Elementary will not function as a school without significant investment. And to that point, if we think if North Berwick leaves us, Berwick is not going to be helping us get a school. So I think we need to be mindful of Lebanon's needs. In speaking with Superintendent Connolly, he said it's not feasible to put investment into the school. And he mentioned like the recent renovations at Noble Middle School they were able to do because of the structure of the building. Lebanon is a wooden structure, and they can't, it's beyond, it would be very expensive. I'm sure you all remember, I think it was about 10 years ago when the roof was collapsing and we had to travel. We at least put our 4th grade at Vivian Hussey in Berwick. I know there's significant issues with the flooring. I don't know the particulars. I do know that the schools are inspected quarterly and on a gamut of issues, and they're passing each time. With regard to capacity, just a couple like real live examples. I always had a computer lab in each school until 2 years ago. I lost my classroom in LES due to the need for space. So my old classroom is now a multi-purpose room with multiple things going on, which really isn't what's best for kids learning. They have the Excel classroom, they have part of the resource room, they have RTI. So you can imagine a regular sized classroom with 3 different things going on at once isn't, and the paper that you have has actually specifics to exact rooms. The other thing, I understand we're going to actually have to budget for a second nurse. We have some very heavy hitting medical issues with students. We can't have Sarah West flying back and forth over the bridge all day long with some of the kids' needs. So again, everything is money. Another example, and this was unbelievable, 2 years ago, Labor Day, with regard to population here in Lebanon. Usually people register their kids, and Becky, you know this, throughout the summer. The Friday before Labor Day, we literally had 10 kids register for 3rd grade. That's half a class. So the growth in town is immense. And what that happened with 4 days before school, we had to scramble, create a new 3rd grade that we didn't plan for, adjust the class list, and we had a fresh out of college 1st grade teacher who had planned for 4 months that she was hired to teach 1st grade, in tears in her room because, oh, you're going to teach, You're going to teach third now. So we were able to work it out, and we had a veteran teacher pick up the third grade. But just again, a school district can't plan for 4 days before school starting an entire half a class registering for school. So one thing that I would like to ask the board to do is in the future, maybe consider growth ordinance. I don't know if it's time for us to put one of those back in effect, but I know when I built my last house in Lebanon, we were on the list, and had to wait. So the immediate plan for continued growth, and speaking with Superintendent Connolly, is going to be to move specialists such as art and music onto carts, portable classrooms. That is not ideal for a music and art teacher to have all their supplies on a cart. Possibly putting some instruction in the hallways. And he had a discussion with me. I asked him what would come next because we'll talk for a minute and maybe the school board can help with this. But the next move after that would be to invest in the Skiavi portable classrooms that they can purchase very reasonably for $18,000 a year, which is 2 classrooms, no running water. That's hard with elementary school. Yeah, I'm going to the bathroom all the time. So, but the state will assist in funding for the Skiavi classrooms, but only on a very short term. So that would be a short fix. The reality is we are going to have to pony something up for some serious renovations to Hanson. And I will just say multiple classrooms and probably a cafeteria, because right now the kids eat lunch in the gym. So we really do need a cafeteria.
Hanson or Lebanon Elementary?
Hanson, because it's, well, like I said earlier, it would be not fiscally responsible to dump any money into Lebanon Elementary. And I don't know, I'm sure Laura knows more about this, about the history of what would happen to that building then, and I don't know if it sold or if you'd use it municipal. That would be some sort of deal between the school board and the town. I really can't speak to that.
What, Lebanon Elementary?
Yeah, they're not looking to put any money.
So they're talking about combining is what you're saying?
Can I say something?
Yeah, please.
I want to just clarify something.
Okay.
A couple things, but I'll start with this last bit. Several years ago, Beth, you'll probably remember the date better than I do, when the Estabrook School in Berwick, we no longer wanted to use that as a building for the same reasons. It had a lot of maintenance issues. It was a wooden structure, and that really is not how a facility you want to teach children at this day and age. So what happened was Berwick bought out North Berwick, and Lebanon's part of that because each of the buildings are owned by the 3 towns. And so that would be if this. And the other thing I wanted to clarify is this really just got on our radar as board members in December, because I happen to be the Lebanon member on the Facilities and Finance Subcommittee, which is a new committee we formed this year to help us look at the different structures and figure out, before we present the budget to the board, where we think we stand on things. So our walkthrough of Lebanon Elementary School is on December 13th. And that's when we noticed, well, when the maintenance director pointed out some major structural issues in that building. There's some sinking of 5 or 6 inches as you enter and exit the building onto the playground. I mean, there's some big issues that we're gonna have to face. The building, I don't want parents to be nervous that the kids aren't safe in there right now. It's safe for them right now, but we're just saying, we're just going to be throwing good money after bad if we keep putting tens of thousands of dollars into that structure, which won't last another 20 years. So that's what I wanted to say about the Lebanon Elementary School. As far as the Skiavi mobiles that Karen was just speaking of, we've found in our district, because we have people that have the ability to build these structures. like in Northborough, call them the cottages. They're very nice, they're much nicer than a portable building for the kids to go in. They're made out of wood, they're nice, small structures that we actually can move if we need to. People should go and look at them to have an idea of what we're talking about. Ideally, if we have money if the taxpayers vote to allow us to spend money in this way, hope I worded that right, we would love to give a little more space at the Hanson School by putting in a portable, which would be made in district by our craftsmen in the district, and we would actually hook up water to it so that it's right near the septic, so we'd have toilets and water running in there for the kids. That is on our dream list because the budget is, we've tried to keep it as low as we could year after year after year, but as you know, salaries have gone up, everything's contractual, we have very little bit of money that we have, that is money that we actually can say, yes, let's put it here. And as our legislators know, we have had a lot of money that is being taken away from us. We're not getting the same funding as we have in the past, so we're losing a lot of state funding that we had gotten in the past. So it gives us a bigger hole to try to get out of, so we're gonna have more local funds. So that's why these projects, like what we call the Owl's Nest, which would be our little portable at the Hanson School, we don't know if we can afford to do them because of the amount that the budget will be going up. And like I said, we're just starting to formulate the budget. We're still having presentations by the schools and the different departments, which we haven't even presented to our fellow board members yet. So we're still gathering information. Lots of numbers are in flux. So we don't know what our insurance is coming in at. As everyone knows with health insurance, you never know, you get a huge swing there. So we're doing our best to keep it affordable for our taxpayers, but I'll tell you what, Lebanon is going to need to think what we're gonna do 5 years from now, because we will not be able to have the Lebanon Elementary for a school. We're gonna have to plan it, we're gonna have to get the game plan going now and start working towards our goal of either putting an addition on the Hanson School or doing something to house our kids. And I was pleased at our board meeting in December after we had met at the Lebanon School. Stan Cowan, a fellow board member from Northborough, was the one who brought up in front of everybody that we've always been equitable. Lebanon needs a school. And Northborough has always fought for us if we needed it. We've always fought for Berwick. That was the beauty of our district. We would help each other.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that we can work together. It's Lebanon's turn to get a better building for our kids, and I'm just hoping that we can continue to mend fences and just move forward with these different projects.
Joanne, is that planning done at the school board level?
Oh yeah.
So all that is done at your level, or it's not. Do the selectmen need to be involved in that at all?
You would be involved at if we asked the taxpayers if they wanted to sell Lebanon Elementary School. That's when
That would be
only the town gets first dibs on what's going to happen. But all of our meetings are public meetings. Our facility and finance subcommittee meetings are public meetings. So people are more than welcome to come and listen, and we'd love to have input after and give us things to think about. So,
can I add just two little things piggybacking on you?
Please.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but part of the problem with any new structure or addition we're going to have in this district is because the district has been very vigilant in paying off all the debt services for all the buildings, our debt ceiling is down.
Yes.
putting us at the bottom of the state list pretty much to get a new school. So whatever we're going to do here in Lebanon, all 3 towns are gonna have to pay for it.
All local
And we're
money.
not gonna get a lot of state
No
money.
state money.
Because we're fiscally conservative.
Exactly, because we're doing our job.
Because you're paying
Go
things
figure.
off. Yeah.
So right now, the total debt service that for all 3 towns, it's basically left at the high school, all the other schools are paid off. And I believe if I could be wrong, 1.67 million dollars annually is what the debt service is, which is fiscally conservative, and we've done a good job paying that down, which brings me to something that I probably should have stated earlier. As we speak, North Berwick does have an opportunity. They could pull every single one of their high school kids right now. South Berwick has lost a lot of kids. They have a very large school. And they could put their high school kids into the South Berwick SAD 35 school district for less money than what they're paying into this system. So these are things that we should seriously be thinking of. And I mean, we've always worked together as a team. And I wanna make sure that team stays together. And Karen and I are here to offer out the olive branch and to apologize.
Well,
To North Berwick.
emphatically, it's such a mess, and I totally understand why they are doing what they're doing. Just to the point, just a quick point to our school board, which is amazing. If you sit in the meetings, you honestly cannot tell who is from which town. There is such an advocacy for our kids district-wide. Like, I mean, I had to ask Stan, well, which town are you from? He's come to Lebanon several times for Kid Connection events that I've been at. And, he really gets it. He knows. And it's a great thing when you're not, clawing for your own town. You're working for all the kids together.
It's always been that way.
Yeah, it's a great school board.
I can remember.
Just one more thing. School board meetings are also all taped now, so anyone can watch them. So anybody who needs information and you can't go because it's your meeting night or whatever, there.
Can I clarify a couple of things?
Cool.
Rebecca Beal, I'm on the school board and representing Lebanon. Some things that I heard that were not what you just said about the cost-sharing formula being revisited. It wasn't that it will be revisited every 10 years. It was that it can't be revisited for at least 10 years. It never needs to be revisited. It's not required at all. And that came out loud and clear. The other thing...
Is that written somewhere? I mean,
No, that was the agreement in 2001 when it was voted down.
Well, it was voted down in 2002, but...
2002, whenever it was, that
1967 law.
So that
when
was...
that happened, they said that part of the agreement was that it would not be brought up for another 10 years or more. That, that was part of the deal.
Is there a formal process to do that, though?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Okay. The other thing is that pursuing the cost sharing formula, I think will be fatal to the district. I heard it loud and clear at the Selectmen's meeting in North Berwick that they are preparing to pull out of the district. And if they do, we are we're going to be in so much trouble. We cannot afford to build a high school. We can't even afford to build a new elementary school by ourselves. We need to work with North Berwick, and we need to respect that 1967 agreement, which came into effect because Berwick, as a wealthy town, was reluctant to join with 2 poorer towns. And so that was the deal, that it would be 50% evaluation and 50% student population. And that was how they drew North Berwick into the district. North Berwick already pays $3,000 more per student than any other town in the district. I'd say that's their fair share. I think that if we put any more energy into this, the district is going to be in big trouble. Already there are divisions forming between the three towns. The bridge of trust is broken. We really need to work hard on repairing this. I stood up at the Selectmen's meeting in North Berwick and said, our Selectmen do not represent the town of Lebanon in this. I've had hundreds of responses to Facebook posts of the videos and all that. Not a single one supports what was said at that meeting. And I am so incensed about this that I am considering researching the process for recalling Chip, because this is so unacceptable. I don't think that Paul and Laura really did anything wrong, other than they should have shut the meeting down when they realized North Berwick wasn't here. That would have been the ethical thing to do. But Chip, you should know better. You don't know the history of this town. You don't know the history of the district. You don't know the history of why things are town property. It's embarrassing sometimes to see the ignorance. Yes, you're good with numbers. You've done a great job with the budget and balancing things, and I appreciate that. But you say that no school board member approached you? Well, I approached you last year after the district budget vote, and I was severely flogged publicly for offering to help. I don't know whose feelings I hurt. I still don't know, and I don't care, because I did not make that mistake. That was the town office's mistake, not mine, and I was the one that was blamed for it. And then when somebody complained and asked you to issue an apology, I watched the video. You passed that letter around and you said, no, I don't think we need to apologize. I'm sorry, you're losing my trust. I'm not happy with what's going on. If we mess with this, we're going to lose the district. Steve Connolly talked at the meeting about the cost drivers for the budget, the special education costs that Karen referred to, and also the uncontrolled growth, the irrational, uncontrolled growth, and the lack of long-term plans in both this town and in Berwick. Berwick is putting in a 500-unit subdivision. Yes, it's senior housing, but how many seniors raise their grandchildren? It will impact the schools. They also have a 90-unit thing that they want to build in downtown Berwick. Workforce housing. Well, you think there's not going to be any children there? Berwick is stuffing the schools with kids and then complaining that they're not being treated fairly. And Lebanon got suckered. And it's embarrassing, and I do not support anything that I heard at that meeting. I am very angry about it. And seriously, I downloaded information for recalling a public official. I don't know that there's any way you can regain the trust. As Chris used to say, trust, when broken, is really hard to get back. Remember that? I remember.
I say a lot of things.
I listen to you.
Yeah.
I offer to be that go-between between the school board and the selectmen. Similar to the way that we have a student representative that comes and reports to the high school on what's going on at the high school. So we know a little bit about what's going on. If anyone had mentioned this to me, I could have told you the history. My mother was on the school board when the district was formed. The other thing is, in that meeting, Chip bragged about how we're getting free police coverage from the state troopers. And Mrs. Littlefield at the meeting was really incensed. She forwarded that video to the governor, because the governor is not going to like free funding being thrown around, and we were apt to lose state police coverage because of your big mouth. Yeah, oh shit.
It wasn't me, don't look at me.
And I'm like,
She looked at me, it wasn't me.
you created a hornet's nest. You stepped in it big time. And you need to fix it somehow. And if you need to get down on your knees and go visit the North Berwick Selectmen and beg them to forgive you in person, not a letter, but in person. You need to go to a Berwick meeting and you need to say, this is unacceptable. We cannot do this. And we don't appreciate being suckered into your plan. You need to deal with it. And a letter doesn't cut it. And I'm sorry if I hurt your feeling or seem disrespectful or rude or hostile, but I'm feeling that right now. I'm done. Thank you.
Go ahead, come in the back.
Well, I just wanted to kind of touch on
Please
that.
state your name, please.
Jeff Adams, Lebanon resident. I saw you on the video too, talking about all the money savings and everything. That was one of the problems I had, and then the Republican remark from Eldridge saying that's okay, I won't hold that against you. I'm a proud Republican. I don't really care if he does hold it against me.
Mm-hmm.
Bottom line, I'm a numbers guy too. I work federal appropriations. Did it for almost 20 years. What you did, you got side dealed. You cut that deal out. You get that $300,000 back. Because you said after the meeting, and I don't know if you guys heard that. Well, who's your lawyer? Oh, we use the same one. Oh, that makes it easy. That's what you guys said. That makes it easy to push legislation around North Berwick. So let's just say that you split it up. They got money in North Berwick, goes to South Berwick. You got the Noble High School. Who's going to pick up that cost? Going to sell it. Now what do we do with the Lebanon kids? Go back to Noble Lebanon High School? Then that money you're getting back, is that money coming back to us as residents? And our tax dollars? We're going to do a reevaluation on our property? Bring it down to $1,250 per thousand as opposed to $1,450?
That's right.
What was the thinking behind it?
So again, the meeting was talking about it, okay?
I'm trying to control myself because I'm pretty mad about it. There's some really disparaging remarks about these elected officials here that have done a lot for this area for a long time.
Not a single one of those.
Huge problem for me.
Not a single one of those disparaging remarks came out of this committee.
But you didn't stop it.
That may be true.
I've ran a lot of boards. I would have stopped it right there and kicked them out. Done. See you later. And why is Eldridge
stopped the meeting early?
Why is Eldridge even calling the meeting with you guys? He works for the Selectmen.
You have to ask him.
Why'd you accept it? Why'd you get with all the other Selectmen?
I would have. If North Berwick asked me to do the same thing, I would have done the same thing.
Why? You're working in a Tri-City area, Tri-City budget.
Because it was informational. This wasn't a meeting.
You were passing my legislation. Talking about getting it through lawyers. That's not informational.
The other thing is for legal expenses.
I'm gonna sit down because I'm pretty mad about it too.
North Berwick is having to get a different lawyer because you guys in Berwick both deal with Bernstein Sure.
Actually,
That's not one.
So the school it's a conflict of interest for them to represent the school board.
Their lawyer represents SAD 60. Which is why their lawyer cannot represent them in a school issue.
That's correct.
They can represent North Berwick.
No, they can't. Not for a
Why
school
can they
issue.
represent you?
No, it has nothing to do with it. North Berwick uses Drummond Woodson. SAD 60 also uses Drummond Woodson. So it's a conflict of interest.
That's why we have to get a new lawyer.
That's why if SAD 60 needs a lawyer for this to get with North Berwick involved, they have to use a different lawyer, and that's also why North Berwick. So Drummond Woodson cannot represent both halves of that party. That's a conflict.
Okay, all right, then I stand corrected. But in a budget year, when we're looking at $665,000 being cut because the state isn't keeping their promises, should we really, we need to build a school. We have so many needs. Do we really need to pay lawyers? Do we need to throw money in their direction because somebody was unethical? That's a waste of money. I don't want my taxes to pay for it.
I don't disagree with you. As far as I'm concerned, we haven't spent a dime on lawyer fees.
Berwick had already met with their lawyers.
That's their option. But nobody here lawyered up. I don't see a need for a lawyer. I was asked last night whether our legal budget would go up, and I go, why? I mean, because it all goes to the voters. Everything goes to the voters. So, but anyways, Deborah, you had your hand up for a while.
So, I have a few things to clear up. My name is Deborah Dory Wilson, Wilson, married to a United States Marine Corps soldier by the name of Wilson. I run the Lebanon, Maine Truth Seekers page. I vote Republican. I've supported my state representative every single year. I want to say that I did go over to North Berwick, and I did speak to my embarrassment at what happened at this board meeting. I did not slam Mr. Moran on my Facebook page. What I said was that Mr. Moran was a top-notch town manager. I found his information helpful, and I requested that he perhaps think about submitting something for our comprehensive plan committee on MSAD 60. And it's where it came from and its beginnings. Becky was a part of that conversation. She can tell you that that is exactly what I said. I also have the partner of the state representative telling me to shut up.
I'll explain why on that.
Okay.
I don't want to be dragged into that.
I'm just saying to you, I'm not going to be misrepresented in what I said in North Berwick. I did apologize, and I've told you I was disgusted by what I saw. I didn't believe in what I saw. However, I've also stated many times, this is a board of 3. And what you said was inexcusable. I didn't like it. I didn't understand it. But we represented by 3 selectmen here. And so for everybody to sit in this room and pick on a comment that was made by our chairman that was inexcusable, to treat him like he is a 5th grade student when he knows what he did was wrong, and not address the entire board that allowed 6th grade, that allowed this entire meeting to continue to take place. Everybody likes to say like, oh well, but you're right, they don't ever say a thing.
Ever.
They don't ever say a thing, okay? We're represented by one man who does his best for this town, who has made a lot of changes in this town, and if he stepped out of line and he apologized and he's willing to make it right, I think we should stop a minute, take a breath, and allow him the chance to make that right. And if the other 2 want to continue to remain silent, let them remain silent. He did something wrong. He's willing to apologize. Let the man be a man and stop treating him like a child. Give him the ability to apologize and make things right. Let's watch what he does. Recalling him now at this point in time is not going to do you any good because you're going to get stuck with 2 silent members.
Oh, they might have to.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. When you hand all the responsibility to one man, you watch those meetings, Becky. You watch them with me. He comes in here with 15 new things to talk about to do better for Lebanon. And then he says, Paul, do you have anything? No. Laura, do you have anything? The color of the tarp on the boat and the salt shed. I mean, and I'm not slamming them. Please, I'm not. Whatever. Maybe it's because he's a control freak. I don't know. I'm not in that dynamic. But I'm saying to you that the guy is trying. He's willing. He's heard our state representatives. He's willing to make a change. He's willing to work on his mouth, and he's willing to step forward. And now I'm asking you as school board members, I never see anything coming from the school board. The first time that I find out anything about even a consideration of a new school.
We just found out that.
I'm just saying. You met at that school. Nobody in town ever knew that you were meeting at that school.
Well, it's on the
agendas are not, it might be public, the agendas are on Lebanon Town webpage. Nobody,
they're on the school.
do you know I can't get on that?
Well, you know,
Let's not bash the school board.
Don't tell me what I'm doing. And don't tell me to shut up. I'm asking a question.
Please,
And I have the
please.
right.
Please, let's try to keep this civil.
I offered that as a suggestion when I offered.
I know
help
you
that
did.
The school
I'm
board
just-
agendas
I know
and
you did.
minutes needed to be on
I
the
know you
town
did.
website, nothing happened.
I know you did, but what I'm saying is that when those agendas come out, I have asked personally in this meeting room in front of 3 selectmen to be included in those alerts that come from the school. And Mr. Connolly himself in this meeting room.
That has nothing
Wait
to
a
do with
minute.
what we're doing.
It has everything.
It doesn't.
Well, I'm sorry, Becky. I don't think some of your stuff does either, but
We're
okay.
dealing.
Nancy is trying
Point of
to answer your question.
Point of order is right, and I'm sorry that I
I'm
haven't
trying
known
to
when
answer
say
a question
Wait,
directed to you
wait,
by
we're
the school
getting-
board
I-
member.
This is select meeting, not a school board
Hold on.
meeting.
Hold
Do
on.
you want me to finish my question or you don't? It's up to you, you're the chairman. My question is relevant and you'll see that when it's finished.
It's not about the school board though.
It's not
If you
about
have
the
concerns
school
about
board.
the
You
school
don't
board,
even
that's a
let me get
different
it out
issue.
my mouth.
Wait,
You're also
Hey,
worried.
hey, please, one
not
person
worried.
talking at a time. Deborah, talk.
So, I was answering your question, Mrs. Newburgh. I asked Superintendent Connolly to get on the alert system for the school. He told me how to do that, and he told me he would personally approve me. So I went and did that, what he told me to do, and I got back a thing that I have no children in the school, so I can't get on the alerts. Okay, I'm 57 years old, I don't have kids in the school. So I emailed Mr. Connolly and I asked again, and he told me to resubmit, which I did. And I still got the kickback thing that I can't get the alerts from the school website because I have no children. And I understand it's a security issue for the kids too, I got that. But I'm just saying, taxpayers in this town don't all have children. And we aren't all privy unless we go searching and searching for school board minutes and agendas. We don't have that information. And I don't know how. And that's all I was saying to you, is that I have attempted, you know,
When you brought that up.
Deborah, can you, what is your,
right up there.
When you brought that up, Deb, I
Yeah.
promised that I would look into it
Right,
and
and I still
take
don't.
care.
hey,
I haven't had a meeting.
so this is the school board.
You're
No,
unreasonable.
you, wait a minute, I asked you about it last night. I've been asking about this
Jordan.
for over
I
a year. Yeah.
Please.
I know, but
I understand you have questions on the school board.
right.
My guess is those school board questions, you could go to a school board meeting and they'll
Right.
probably listen to you.
Right.
But
I
here,
don't even know when they are, Chip.
Oh my gosh, first and third Thursday, and it's been like that for 20 years.
And it's
so
online.
just, I'm not trying to shut anybody up, but I'm trying to manage. I don't mind, I'll be here all night, I don't care, I mean, we can talk, but I know other people don't wanna be here all
I
night.
just have a million questions and I can't get them answered.
So if it's a school board question, please go to the school board. If it deals with the meeting we had, or moving forward, okay, or
Then I'll
that,
just finish my statement with that.
All
I
right.
appreciate what you've done in this town. I don't like what you did. I don't like the meeting. I also know that Berwick found 3 rubes sitting at the table in Lebanon. And I think that they knew you were all brand new. They knew that you didn't know, and they utilized that. And I wish, if hindsight was 20/20, I'm sure every one of you would have reached out to somebody to find out the rules. And I'm just saying, apologize for your statement, Chip. Apologize for allowing a meeting that should have never happened. But I don't think you have to grovel, and I don't think that you're the only one responsible. So you continue to have my support as long as you are truly sorry for what you did. And I say for myself, I appreciate what you've done, and I'm sorry that you got caught up in that situation. And I still apologize and am embarrassed in front of the North Berwick Selectmen. And that is my statement.
thank you.
So it's not misconstrued.
Thank you.
I just want to talk about public safety.
Huh?
I just wanted to comment on the public safety comment that was earlier. I'm the lead on the state's public safety committee, and I just wanted to comment to Becky's comment about the governor not knowing about that. The governor, the commissioner, and the colonel of the Maine State Police know full well that Lebanon is covered by Maine State Police. Lebanon is not the only town covered by Maine State Police. There are 5 towns, I believe, in York County covered by them, and it's not unique to York County. It happens throughout the state for municipalities. It's more common to have deputy sheriffs, cover. But to that point, since we're talking about public safety, we're talking about money, being fiscally responsible, and maybe doing our homework, I'm going to just say to the meeting that I did sit on with this board with Lieutenant Ross and Sergeant Shapiro and the board, I don't know what it was, 6 weeks ago or whatnot. I'm going to just publicly state my panic that the board was considering putting it on the ballot to have the contract with the sheriff's department, knowing the cost with what we have. And I will say it is for free, meaning that our county tax money for law enforcement still goes to county. The Maine Department of Public Safety gets nothing, not a dime from the towns. The fact that it was even being discussed is troublesome to me.
Okay, can I address that part?
Please.
I don't know if you watched the meeting. Were you here? So I was
in the meeting.
I was pretty harsh with the sheriffs, if you remember, because I questioned, and I even said straight out, why would we even think about hiring you when we get the same service that you're trying to charge us $400,000 for free from the Maine State Police? So in my mind, there's absolutely no way. It makes physically no sense whatsoever to do that. Now, I do know that the Maine State Police have wanted to add coverage.
Right.
And I reached out to the Maine State Police, and before that meeting, I even reached out. I want to say he's the commandant, but that may be the wrong title.
Colonel.
Who just retired.
Yes.
I reached out to him because I was told that they don't do contract work. That's what Lieutenant Ross told me.
And they won't. So.
And I reached out to him. I sent him an email and said, please consider it. It's a win-win for you guys. If you have a town that's willing to pay you money, you got another trooper or 2, whatever. And so I reached out to him. He said he was going to work on it. And he was going to look into it. And then after that meeting, I reached out to Lieutenant Ross. Please, I haven't heard anything. What's the status? Will you please look into it?
Well, we did get 3 this year out of the academy, and that's really unique. Usually York County only gets, 1, usually 1 or 2 a year, but the last batch that graduated, we got 3. And I just think it's really important, and I've always advocated for York County to get more out of the academy. We are the gateway to the state. We are the gateway of where the drugs are coming in. And particularly this highway right here. And the work that they're doing is immense. The level of professionalism, the level of training that they have above and beyond municipal or sheriff's department. So I just felt like that whole thing, I was really having a lot of anxiety. And I will say in the meeting, you seem to have an understanding that why would I pay for this when I get you for that amount? But I was worried that we were at the table talking about it.
No, and the thing is that we sent out a survey on the comprehensive plan that I'm also on. Right. And there was a lot of residents that wanted an increased presence. I don't know if they're willing to pay for it. Mm-hmm. That's always a big question. So, but there was a lot of concern for an increased presence. So I was trying to find a viable option to provide them. And so that's what that conversation was. But it was clear in that meeting that contract sheriff work was not a viable option.
I just think for both issues that we've talked about tonight, that and the school funding, I don't know. This is a town that never ever reaches out to me. I mean, I am the lead on that committee. I could have answered all those questions, and Beth, being former school board, she could have definitely helped with, again, just reaching out to your legislators. I think we might have been able to derail some of these things from happening.
And I just want to say, statements that were just made, nothing is free.
Well, that's correct.
Somebody pays, and it's always the taxpayer.
Yes,
So
yes,
I want to make that clear.
Yes,
Nothing
yes,
is
yes,
free.
I agree.
Well, I'm going to make it even more clear in that there's not a budgeted item in this town for law enforcement. So yes, the town pays their taxes and whatnot, but they're not budgeting for law enforcement.
I know.
So in that respect.
And we don't pay a dime more for it.
Right,
Yep.
that's my
Yep,
point.
no, I got it. Anybody else? Chris?
Chris Fitzpatrick. I don't think this board knows the severity of what you guys did. If you went to that selectmen's meeting Tuesday night in North Berwick, the plans are in motion for North Berwick to leave the district. Do you know what that would result in? Just sit back and think about it. Berwick has 3 schools, okay? North Berwick has the high school, they have the primary school, they have the Mary Hurd School. What does Lebanon have? We have this Hanson School, and we got the elementary school that 5 years we're not gonna be able to use.
Right.
So what's Lebanon gonna do if North Berwick leaves this district? Do you think Berwick's gonna pony up and help us? This is my opinion, and I know because I've talked to people. You guys crawled in the wrong bed with the wrong town. That's my opinion. The first thing that I have to say is, I work for the town of North Berwick. I work for SAD 60, I mow most of their schools, mulch them and all that, I plow Lebanon schools. All you guys had to do was reach out to Dwayne Moore. I've worked for him for probably 18 years for that town. He's been town manager for 22 years in North Berwick. And if you guys were at that meeting, you could have heard the history of the school district. So you wouldn't have to hear it secondhand, third hand, fourth hand. And they're right, don't send Dwayne a letter. Don't send the board of North Berwick a letter. That's up to you 3 to visit them. You should have been at the meeting Tuesday night. Because they're waiting for you. Because they want to hear from you. They don't want to read a letter. And I don't care how you feel about it, whether you like it or not. You guys started this. It's you guys to fix it. Otherwise, we're screwed. They're hiring a lawyer. And yes, it was posted after somebody apologized that they're ponying up a lawyer for $3.50 an hour instead of $150 an hour.
Right.
That's not Lebanon's residents' business what they're paying.
Not at all.
North Berwick's footing that bill right now.
School.
The school will eventually.
The school, just so everybody's clear,
It's
the school district
budget.
will be paying for everybody's lawyers in this matter. And we had to add $100,000 in our budget
And that's what I
for
said.
that.
That's 2 teaching positions.
So if you're a Lebanon resident, don't apologize to North Berwick and then post that your lawyer's $200 an hour too much. Because that ain't what they want to hear. That ain't what they want to hear right now.
I never said that.
Excuse me, I'm talking. Okay?
Never said that. Don't
Read your post.
Don't miss.
Read your post.
Hey, try to keep it to here, please.
So if you guys think of what I just said, what Lebanon's gonna have for schools, like, just think of it. North Berwick could take that high school, they could put every kid that they have into that one school. And what are we gonna have? We're gonna have nothing. The damage is done. And if you were at that selectmen's meeting, you could hear what that select board said. They're not happy. And to me, man up, go to their meeting, call them, say, we are coming to your meeting. Man up, go face them face to face like a man should, or a board should, and explain the situation and let them know what's going on. Because what you guys did, not inviting North Berwick, they're part of the equation. And you can say that, we didn't know what was going on and stuff. Somebody had to know, because if you look at the Berwick Selectmen's meeting, they've already contacted their lawyer and stuff. The wheels were already in motion to kick North Berwick out of the district. And that's how North Berwick feels. I know, I've talked to them. They're not happy. And we're gonna be holding the bag when all this is said and done, unless you guys step up to the plate. And I hope you do. And like I said, go talk to Dwayne. You want to know the history of SAD 60? He can tell you everything about it because he did Tuesday night at that meeting. He's very knowledgeable in the schools. And he's not going to talk behind your back. I know, I worked for him for 18 years. And if he's got something to say to you, he's going to say it to your face. He's not going to go in a circle or anything else. And that's what I feel Berwick has done to this town and to North Berwick. If you watch their meetings, there's shady stuff going on down there.
Yeah.
It has for years. I know, because I've had family in Berwick too. Okay, so like I said, you guys crawled into bed with the wrong one. You should go approach North Berwick. They have done 3 dates, that they're gonna see if the high school is available for them 3 dates. And I hope and pray you guys go.
Yes.
Because the school boards are gonna be there, all the select boards are gonna be invited to this, and residents can go there and listen to it. So I hope you guys have enough face to go see them, and then go to this meeting afterwards. That's what I hope. Because I'm pretty sure they're waiting for you guys. They're not waiting for a letter in the mail. They're waiting for you to talk face to face. And Dwayne Warren's door is always open. If you want his number, I can give it to you. That's my feelings on the whole thing.
And he answers his own phone.
Let me respond to 2 things. We're not in bed with anybody.
Well, you were, Chip.
No, we weren't.
Yes. Because North Berwick wasn't invited to this meeting. So yes, technically you were in bed with them. That's how I feel.
Okay,
that's how it looks. I mean,
I don't disagree with the optics.
Chip,
Cahoots is a better word.
read comments and see what people are saying. That's if you were at that meeting, that's what people in North Berwick are thinking.
Well, I'm not going to argue about it. Anyways, your second comment is, I said we were going to write a letter, but I never said I was going to send it. I plan on hand delivering that letter to them at their next meeting.
But it's not just you; it's the whole board should be there.
If the board wants to come with me, that's great. Okay, we haven't had a chance to talk. Okay, everybody seems to forget. The other 2 towns have town managers who work 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week. They can talk and do whatever they want, and it's never on camera. We're the 3 selectmen. We can't do a thing unless it's on camera. And to talk about this, how do I throw that in executive session? I can't.
Right.
We haven't had a chance to even talk. When did all this blow up? On this past weekend. Today's Thursday. It's the first time that we've been together. So, I mean, again, a lot of this I'm doing on my own.
That's right.
Okay? Because I see the severity of this and I'm trying to get out in front of it.
Can I ask you a question, Jeff?
We haven't had a chance to talk.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I'll ask the board this, okay? Because this was brought up at the meeting in North Berwick. The town manager called Berwick's town manager. He wanted to see the paperwork that you guys were all handed.
Yeah.
He denied that. He hung up on him.
Okay.
He called him twice. He was hung up twice.
You want to see that?
So he had to do a freedom of information request to get that information. Did you 3 know that?
Did I know they had to do a freedom of information again? No.
So what does that tell you about the town of Berwick?
Who are you doing business
Who are you doing business with?
Again, I'm not gonna. You say we're doing business with, okay, and maybe that's what the optics are. Maybe that's how it looked, and I'm not gonna debate that because everybody has their own opinion, and that's fine. All I know is that when we got, and I would have done the same thing with North Berwick. For all I know, Berwick was gonna come in and say, "Hey, we think the formula is unfair, and we all have to go to the school board or the school and talk about it." I don't know. I honestly didn't know their motivations. I didn't know what it was going to talk about. All I know it was going to be about the school formula. That's it. Now, should I have? Again, I did my research after this thing blew up. Okay? One of the ones I looked at is Kennybunk. Kennebunkport, and Arundel. In 2013, they changed their funding formula. Kennebunkport went up by 50%. They've also voted, that was in 2013. In 2014 and in 2015, the town voted to leave the district. And it failed. And it wasn't even close. And yes, that would have been disastrous for that district. Kennebunkport is a rich town. So their property, and they have the lowest amount of students that went to that district.
Right.
But they're a wealthy town. Okay, so North Berwick can do that, and that's fine. They have permission to do anything. Who am I to say they can't do something? Okay, but it's their people that have to vote. Okay? So what I tried at the start of this was to say, we should have a process. Okay, and if it can't be revisited for 10 years, fine, 10 years. But if one of the towns feels something's unfair, why can't that be addressed? Why do we have to say, no, you can't say anything? You just have to accept it.
Because that was the deal.
But the deal wasn't was only to not look for it for 10 years. Good.
It's actually, I can tell you, Mr. Harlow sent me an email, and I think, and in all honesty, listening to the apology, I really, and my town manager told me that it was just gonna be fact finding and just trying to look for information. So I assume, and because I have not seen the email from my town manager to Mr. Harlow, but I think that this board did think that it was gonna be fact finding to look, just not make any decisions, just to see what's up.
Right.
And then Mr. Harlow sent me an email when I expressed interest in coming before this board, clearing the air, trying to mend fences, and the email was very, very clear that what he thought should happen was everyone should be at the table, and he was questioning himself in that email why we didn't do that to begin with. But woulda, coulda, shoulda. It's like I woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Thank you for being honest about that.
And so I know that what's happening now are the first steps. We can't throw each other under the bus. I don't want to throw Berwick under the bus. I live there. And so, I need to stop being a really trusting person all the time and think that, oh yeah, this sounds like it's all that in a bag of chips. Because sometimes when it sounds like it's all that in a bag of chips,
It's not.
you're not getting that bag of chips, you're getting some rotten potatoes. And so, but it's, so I should be taking the blame as much as Mr. Harlow or this board, because I was not suspicious. I really saw the first numbers that I'm quite sure this board saw. And I went, oh my goodness, I think we're getting nailed to the wall. Why is this happening? But then then I thought, no, this isn't. And then I saw the legislation, and I went, this is, and I couldn't put this in even if I wanted to. I need more facts. I need more information. I actually offered to come to their meeting, which might have been beneficial. It might not have been beneficial. I probably would have been banging that gavel had I been there. And maybe it wouldn't have gotten so out of hand, and the awful things that were said. But there's a lot of blame to go around here.
Why didn't you come to that meeting?
I was in Augusta. I couldn't get out I didn't get out of home that night until 8:30.
It wasn't necessary?
I was told, no, we can do this without you. It's just a fact-finding mission.
Right.
Basically. I believed that. I
did they.
honestly believed that. And there's a stupid part of me that still wants to believe that. I want to believe that we can fix all of this. And I pray to God we can fix this, because this is who it's going to hurt. Our kids. And then it's going to hurt our taxpayers. Every town is going to get hurt by this. North Berwick will not come out of this unscathed. It's going to cost money. $1.67 million debt service on that high school. That's shared by all three towns, regardless of who gets to use it. So, we can pass the blame and point the fingers, but when you point the finger, you remember this. There's three more pointing right back at you.
That's right.
So I'm just going to do my best. Like I said, I accept your apology. And I want to move on from there. I don't want to step into the past. I don't want to argue. I want to go forward, and I want to fix this mess. And that's my goal for being here.
Thank you. That was the best talk of the night. Thank you.
I agree with her. I do feel like your apology was true to word, and I feel, and I'm hopeful that Lebanon can, fix the issues of distrust between North Berwick. However, Beth, with you being a representative for Berwick and living there, I did watch the meeting, and that's not the feeling I get from them. I don't feel them being apologetic on what they did. And how is that going to affect even Lebanon in the long run if Berwick's not sorry?
Yeah, that's a concern.
I watched the town meeting, and it was not.
It was ugly.
Apologetic about it.
I watched that as well. I thought it was rather ugly myself. I do have to speak to all of them as well. I'm.
Mr. Plant kinda held him to the table on that too. And
He did.
He did a fantastic
Yes,
job.
he did a very good job.
The problem is he was there with three men who clearly were not apologetic for their actions, even as they were confronted with it.
Right.
I agree.
I think that could be another problem even after this whole effect, even if North Berwick decides to forgive Lebanon for, the coercion that may have happened.
Yeah, let me kind of.
Isn't it collusion?
Well, it's don't go, we don't.
But I don't want to call it collusion because I don't think they intended on that.
The one, it's got to go to legislature. Okay, so I don't think there's a single legislature that represents this district that's not going to put something forward. Okay, that doesn't have the support of all three towns. Okay, so that's the first stopgap.
Right.
Okay, the second stopgap, even if that does happen for some reason, somebody new comes in, puts it there, it gets passed, it still has to go before the voters. Okay, and I will guarantee you, I will advocate against anything that doesn't come out of some form of a committee of all three towns. Now, regardless of whose is, and I don't know what, and again, I said this before, I don't know what's fair. There's lots of different ways. If you go by valuation, that's one way. If you go by, we're the poorest valuation out of the three towns. If you go by pupil, that's another thing. That favors North Berwick because they put the smallest amount of kids in there. So what's fair? The schools are in North Berwick. So they have infrastructure needs. They have their police or their fire. I don't know. And I know that there's people smarter than me that do this all the time. That's what these facilitators help do. So all I'm saying is that if something's unfair or a town feels it's unfair, there ought to be some way to have that addressed in a formal process that involves all communities. Do I think it's unfair to us right now? I'm not sure it is. We may be in the sweet spot, perfect. And we need a new school building. But I don't know. And so whether it be every 10 years, every 15 years, every 5 years, again, having a process. The problem that's happened was there's no process. There's nothing.
I don't know if that was really the problem.
Well, but if there was, but if there was a process, the minute one of the towns would bring this up, I think they went to the superintendent first. That's what I heard. I don't know that. But if they went to the superintendent, he could have said, well, as a matter of fact, we just reviewed it 3 years ago. And the next time it's due up is in 7 years. Huh? Okay. So I don't, so whatever. But I'm just saying is that if North Berwick may feel it's unfair that they pay too much. So why can't they have it addressed? It's not just to say, so again, it's all I'm saying is that there ought to be a formal process that's fair to everybody. Yes, that's fair to everybody. That is correct. 100%.
We can't talk about it with all the stakeholders at the table.
I agree. Yeah. But again, my intention at that meeting wasn't necessarily to talk about changing the formula because we didn't even know. It got there, and like I said, I missed the red flags. Okay, I wasn't on my game. I'm disappointed in myself. Okay, but I would have taken the same meeting with North Berwick. I would have taken the same meeting with Milton. They're our neighbor.
But
they wanted
not to do that, right?
Well, I'll take a meeting with a neighboring town if they want to talk, but I'll do my research first. Okay, so I mean, again, it's I'm trying to be a good neighbor. If I have, and part of the reason I didn't go to North Berwick is I wasn't invited. Not that I have to be, but I'm a town official. I don't like just walking in on somebody else's meeting. I don't feel that was appropriate. Okay, so when I want to hand deliver this letter, I'm going to ask them, "Can I come to your meeting? I have something to deliver." So I mean, that's how me personally. Maybe it's wrong, but that's just me personally.
I guess that would be his point. Is it shouldn't be them coming to you. It should be you going to them.
And I will. I'm going to ask for permission.
All three of you. All three of you.
Yes.
Well, again, we haven't talked, and it may very well be all three.
I wasn't invited. What I'm saying is don't wait for the invite. Take the initiative.
Well, for Tuesday, it was too early. The board hadn't had talked.
Right.
We hadn't had a meeting.
I understand.
How do we,
I'm just saying,
Yep,
don't look.
Get the
Just
answer.
yes, ma'am.
And I didn't bring my paper with me, but there is a process outlined in the law for our kind of school funding on setting up a committee from each town, board members from each, it's written down in the law. Again, I don't have it with me.
Yeah, I saw Kenny Box, I'm assuming it's similar.
Well, it's for this, our specific funding formula
Oh,
and
okay,
how to set
okay.
it up. So
Okay.
there is a process there to follow.
Okay.
Berwick chose to skip that process.
Okay.
So, just so you know, there is a process.
Right. Also, the reason that Superintendent Connolly didn't respond when the issue was brought to him by Berwick is because it's not school board business. It's not his business, it's between the three towns, and he and the school board are neutral on the process. And
But if it was a neutral, if he's neutral, which is totally understandable, did he direct him to the right process? I don't know
I have no idea.
if there's
I
a
wasn't
formal
there.
process, because again, in Kennybunk, that's how that is. The superintendent of the schools there directs the process. They help get the facilitator, because you gotta have somebody, otherwise.
He was in after this whole thing.
No, but his assistant, Sue Austin, has been there forever. I mean, I know Sue from way.
No, I mean, the meeting took place, he didn't know a meeting took place with you guys.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
he's after the fact.
Yeah.
so-
No, I was talking about Berwick's initial reach out to him, which supposedly happened in December or something like that.
Yeah, I think they said that on the video.
They supposedly reached out to him directly early in this whole process. So that's what they said. I have no way of knowing whether that's the truth. So,
Okay.
yeah,
anybody else? Have we beat this to death?
I think so.
Alright. Thank you all for coming very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Karen.
That's,
Yeah.
All right, Deborah, I'll listen to it.
Mr. Howell.
Oh, good, glad.
No.
I don't wanna just shut up.
okay.
I think they closed the
It is what it is. That's why I said the optics of it.
I was patient, I would've broke the gavel.
Even my comment was the optics was horrible. I said I was greedy. I fight for the town. I want everything to get for the town.
I had no idea who you were until I looked at the name on the side, I'm sorry, and I didn't like the way my name was getting
How big
tossed
of a
around.
bottle of wine was that?
Just a small one, but I'm not a giant person. Bye, Beth, thank you.
You can, we're not.
We
We got stuff to
the
do.
voices that need to be heard.
Oh, they're still doing the meeting?
All of us.
So,
Okay, well,
Thanks for buying.
we've
Now I
all
know who you
been
are.
very
Cut this as fast as you can.
Huh?
Stop this as fast as you can.
So, let's see.
It's beginning to like you. You gotta get together, more like you.
Like I said.
So what you
Where am I at? Oh, here's my, keep me on track. So I don't know, they meet on Tuesday, but I think they meet every other Tuesday.
Oh, they're waiting for me? Sorry.
What's that?
I know, well, they haven't called my
They meet
name.
every other, I think Berwick meets every other Tuesday. I don't, not Berwick, North Berwick, every other Tuesday. That's what I thought. I mean, we can not do that and just show up instead. That's, that was my initial.
Thank you.
Bye.
That was my initial draft.
Hanging in the corners, come in here.
Do you want me to reach out to them and have us see if we can get put on their agenda?
Sure.
What time would they meet? You know?
I don't think it's, well, Tuesday is what you need to be after 5:30, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, or I'd have to.
No, I'm sure,
Figure
I'm
something
pretty
out.
sure it's in the evening.
Their meeting's at 6:30.
Yeah, so it should be fine, right? Yeah. 6:30 is fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anytime after, whether it be 6:37 or whatever.
Tomorrow morning.
Yeah, that's fine.
Tomorrow
No, we
morning.
have to do it tonight, Paul.
That's it.
We have to do it tonight.
So you can maybe do it in the morning if you're here first thing.
I need at least one of you to do it tonight.
Yeah,
I'll get
isn't
it
this
done.
AP?
Yeah.
So two of us need to do it.
Yeah, but he'll be here bright and early.
Yeah, no,
So
we'll do it.
we'll get it done.
Yeah.
Good night.
You too.
Night, John.
Thanks, Jordan.
Hey, you're still here?
He is.
I love you, Bill Lane.
Stay out.
All right. Right. That's that. So that's that. Next one. Did you get the food sovereignty ordinance? Did you get a chance to look at this at all?
No.
Do you have any questions? It's kind of, it's a boilerplate. I mean, it's kind of a template that they give. This is a newer one that incorporated the brand new Maine law. So a
Yeah,
lot of
because
the
that
ones,
just changed, right?
yeah,
Then
because a
that
lot of
changed.
them didn't have it. Even like the Elliott one was done before that law.
Mhm.
All it really does is quotes that law. So a lot of a lot of it is kind of similar. Oops, there's another one I forgot. They use the word town a lot, so that way, and I've been trying to check that right as belonging to the town of Lebanon. So I've been kind of going through just making sure that,
So you want to say town of Lebanon at the
yeah,
end, is that what you're saying?
this one right here, yeah.
Okay.
Town.
Looks like your writing's different, your font's different than mine. It is. Oh, new color.
This may be darker.
Okay, so.
And they have some long name, if you remember correctly, like the Elliott one, and I just shortened it to the Lebanon Food Sovereignty. I mean, I figured that was,
I know.
so, and then I was gonna run this by MMA,
Yes, we need to do that.
just to, I mean, they're free, so. I'm thinking they'll go through it. I'm not positive, because sometimes they only give limited legal stuff, they don't, they don't like replace your lawyers, but, I mean, again, this is pretty much boilerplate for what Elliott has, so I'm not sure I wanna spend, if MMA doesn't do it, I'm not sure I really wanna spend any money on our own.
No.
I think it's good the way it is, so. All right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you don't have any, okay, cool. All right. That's that. Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's just me.
Sorry. Well, I moved you to 7. We're a little late. But yeah, we got Deborah on for the senior lunch program. So, all right, sorry.
So, because I knew
I
you
totally
were going to
totally
run
spaced.
late tonight.
Sorry, I totally spaced.
That's okay. I kind of figured. But because I knew you were gonna run late tonight, I did not bring my entire presentation. I only brought half of it. And I'll tell you that I've been through a very hurtful week this week. I know a lot of you don't approve of what I do by giving information or having discussions on my Facebook page. I know a lot of you don't like to be asked questions. You feel like I'm attacking you. So I just wanted to let you know that from now on, when I have a question, I'm gonna go home and write it out and I'll hand it to you. I'm disabled. I don't have the same face as others. No, I didn't have a stroke. I was injured. And sometimes I look like I'm very angry, and I'm not. I get a lot of questions. I have ADHD. If I hear something, I want to know. I want to know why. And I live here. I have the right to know why, and I have the right to ask a question. And I'm sorry that any of you feel attacked or singled out. Usually I look at Chairman Harlow because usually this is where I sit. And so he's kind of in my direct line of sight. I also know that he's probably the one that's going to answer me because I don't get answers anywhere else but from him. So I just want to make it clear to the people of Lebanon and to the other two of you and whoever else wants to buzz out there, I'm not attacking Chairman Harlow. I appreciate the answers that he gives me 99.9% of the time, and I don't like the other 1%, and I go home and I stew and I kick the dog, or I better say I kick the ball around a little bit, and then I get over it and I come back with another way around things. So I just want to let you know that I'm not attacking anybody, and I'm sorry that I look the way I do. I'm not angry. It's my face. The other thing that I wanted to address is that I've been accused several times over the past week of when I can't be here sending Mary Lane to aggravate you. And I will tell you that I have no control whatsoever over Mrs. Mary Lane. None. No.
I didn't think so.
Listen, one of my best friends, I'm not going to lie to you about that, but when Mary gets something in her head, I can tell you she would just as soon smack me to get me out of the way as you. And that's the truth. When Mary comes in here and she has a question, it's not for me. And I'm looking right at you. It's not for me.
To intersect
Okay.
for a second.
Hold on, let her have the
Yeah,
floor.
let me finish. I'm very, very capable of aggravating you all on my own. I don't need to send Mary. I do a very good job of coming in here and asking my questions. As you can see, I had some conversations. I attended that meeting in North Berwick, and I was discouraged that none of you came. I do understand why, now listening to your reason why none of you showed up. But I listened to that meeting. I never, ever, and I will say this honestly, I invite you all to look at what I said on my page. I never, ever disparaged Dwayne Morin because he was helpful. His information was insightful. He talked about the beginnings of MSAD 60, how it was formed. He talked about the time when Berwick went to North Berwick and tried to throw Lebanon under the bus, and North Berwick protected us. And some amazing facts came out of that meeting. And what I said on my page about Mr. Morin was when I was in response to a North Berwick resident, Jeannie Prevention, who oftentimes comes onto my page to say how Lebanon sucks all their money and all that stuff. And she was saying, Mr. Morin, I had not mentioned him to this point. She said that Mr. Morin was a top-notch town manager and Lebanon would do well to hire somebody like him. And I agreed with her. And I said, I'd like to go and talk with him. We have a comprehensive plan meeting going, and none of us know any of that history of MSAD 60. And I think it would be helpful to include in our inventory part of our comprehensive plan is how that was created. And that was the extent of what I said about Mr. Morin. And I want to make that very clear that I appreciated him. And I thought his information was amazing, really. So I want to make that very clear. I also want to just say one more thing. I have a few volunteer things going, and I have a handful of volunteers. Not one of them want to be background checked for something that they may do 3 or 4 hours a week, something that they may want to do, not this week, I'll help you next week. None of them. You don't pay them. They're doing this on their own. I've checked with other towns. Unless we are sucking off the town, which I understand insurance. So they told me if I didn't want to do it that way, if I don't want to have everybody be forced to sign background checks for, and listen, I was told that first it was criminal background check and driving history. I got that all day long. I don't think there would be a problem with that, but I also listened to the discussion during your meeting where you were talking about a simple check mark on the paper and you'd be getting people's credit history, education, employment, and that check mark is all done here with you. So we have no control over which marks you're checking. And I'm not sure that any of us want all our history laid out there so that we can deliver a meal to a senior resident 1 day a week or 2 days a week, 2 or 3 hours out of our day. I was all for it. I have no problem with it. After listening to my volunteers and knowing that 12 out of the 14 of them will walk out the door if I try to force that, I can't stand behind it. So I've been looking at other options outside of utilizing the town insurance. There are other ways that I can go. And when I hear about it, when I talk about it, I did come to the town. I did put this on the table, and mostly because of the support that I received for this program from Chairman Harlow. I've talked to him about the need here. I've talked to him about ways I could go about doing this. I have the Grange kitchen, that's what I got. And if you guys are gonna force me to have like a state inspector come down and scrutinize the Grange kitchen, they're not gonna pass. I mean, they don't have 3 sinks, they've got 2, but they've got 14 of us in there washing dishes that we wash every day for our own family. And our families aren't dying of botulism. So, no, it isn't a lot because we're not selling the meals. It's a volunteer program. So, at any rate, I just want to tell you that if we go the other way, it's still very much a town program. We would still welcome and appreciate the selectmen being a part of that. But at this time, I don't know. It's not my fault. Where do you want me to get people to go do this if they're refusing to have... And listen, it's not because they're sketchy people. 10 out of the 12 of them have lived here all their life. They're not sketchy. They're not trying to avoid a background check because of what you might find or whatever. They don't want their crap out there for 2 or 3 hours a week to volunteer to help somebody in this town. And to be honest with you, I've been doing this for 2 years and you haven't background checked me yet. Because you didn't know I was doing it. So the first time I come here and talk to you and say, here's what I want to do, y'all go like, background checks and state inspections and, I mean, I can't help it. The volunteers don't want it. And so I can't do it by myself. I'm doing my maximum right now. I'm at my maximum. Chip knows because I took his brother-in-law and his wife out with me. I plow driveways when people that can't afford it. I bring them food. I fill their generator. I'm out there trying to bring my generator to people to give them electricity when the power goes out. I can't do anymore. I'm at my maximum. And if I can't have volunteers helping me without feeling prosecuted, I'm done. This is my maximum. I can do no more. So I'm just saying to you, if I switch over so that I don't have to use the town insurance, it's not because I want to exclude you. I welcome you to come down and help me figure out where it's going, work with us. So at this point, we're having a volunteer dinner. We're all going to use locally sourced foods from a couple of local farms. It's for the volunteers that will be cooking only. We're going to talk about what you just talked about, the food sovereignty program. We're going to all work together to do prep work and create a meal from locally sourced foods. And that's going to be on March 29th at 6 o'clock. Only our volunteers have been invited, but if you want to come and hear what we're discussing and see what maybe you can find out before then with regards to what you need, that's fine. I mean, if we can all work together and I'm not going to live forever. I turned 57 years old today and I was requested to be here. And here I am on my birthday. And I'm 57. I'm not going to live forever. I have my health issues. And if this can be a town program and somebody else can take it over when I can't, all the more power to you. But that's where I stand on that. As far as the swap shop, I went and visited on Tuesday morning with a representative of a lumber company, and they can't help me with the lumber that I need. So my next thing is to reach out to corporate Lowe's and corporate Home Depot. I wanted to use a local lumber company. If there is a local lumber company out there and I haven't reached out to you and you'd like to help, please feel free to get in touch with me, Deborah Wilson, Lebanon, Maine Truth Seekers, and I'll give you all the rundown. But anyway, next step is to reach out to the larger corporations to find my shed stuff. I talked to Tommy, he's ready to rock and roll as soon as the weather breaks to finish up that site work. As always, very thankful to Andy LePage, SUR Construction out of Rochester, an Lebanon resident. He donated every single drib and drab and stone to do all that site work over there. All the gravel and the recycled asphalt. That's where I stand on that project. And what was the other project I needed to talk to them about?
I'm older than you, I can't remember anything.
I guess I'll just leave it at that because I have a whole presentation on the swap shop shed. And I just want to say that, you know, sometimes I come in here and just one thing you say, Paul, or one thing you say, Laura, or one thing you say, Chip, will pop 10 questions into my head. And I only ask because I know I'm going to go home and one at a time on my private messenger, somebody else is going to ask me them, you know, and I have 2,000, almost 2,200 people that view my page on an everyday basis. They call me from everything from when they can't get in touch to the dog officer to I need a fish tank was my other one the other day. Their fish tank had a leak and they didn't know what they were going to do. They call me for potholes and on a Saturday because Tommy's off on a Saturday. And I don't mind helping them. I enjoy it. And it's my pleasure to be kind of a liaison when they're at work and they can't make 20 phone calls. Just message me. I'll take care of it. It's no big deal. And I like what I do. So rather than brush me off and tell me that you don't like my questions or my questions are offensive, if I ask you a question, it's either because A, I want an answer, or somebody out there asked me and they want an answer. And I don't need to be thought of as attacking. I'm not. I'm here. I'll work with you any way you want. If I ask you a question and you tell me like, well, here's the answer and I don't understand it, I'm just going to ask you again. And it's not because I'm attacking you. It's because I need the answer. You know, and I just get frustrated that I get answers all the time, right or wrong, ticked off from one person. And I really need a board answer. And I think right now with everything that's going on, I think that people really need to, I heard tonight from one member of the board, you know, like, and I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand what it's going to take to get everybody on board.
Well, so because, let me just, are you
done? All done. Yeah.
And that was only half?
That's half. Wait till you see the rest of it. The rest of it's pictures and stuff, so that's the fun part.
Let me first up, I meant to do this during the first half of, or whatever, the other part that started at 6, because it came up again. This board works very well together. Because, trust me, if Paul is in disagreement, he may be a man of very few words, and sometimes he gets trouble with some of the words he says, but if he disagrees with something, he will say so. Okay?
So he agrees with everything?
No. If he doesn't agree, he will say so.
He was against the now yet. Remember, he stated that many times.
Okay, so whether Laura and I tend to agree on a lot. So if she agrees, does she have to say, I agree. Well, then she'll get slammed. Then she gets slammed for that. Mm-hmm. All you say is I agree.
Yep.
Okay, so you know, I mean, so the thing is that, you know, and tonight she was silent. Okay, tonight's meeting, sometimes people, they say if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it. Not that she's thinking bad things,
Right.
okay, but
You don't know what she's
I had to swallow a lot of pride tonight.
Yes, you did. And
Okay.
Listen,
No
you
matter,
did well.
I know in my heart of hearts that I'm just trying to fight my best for Lebanon. But the optics was horrible. And so I could have fought it because I know in my heart I'm trying to do what's right, but I can't. The optics is horrible. Okay? And in hindsight it's 2020. And I get disappointed in myself. Yeah. So I have to swallow that pride. Okay? They're not the ones who made the comment.
No.
Okay? And so yes, they were involved in the meeting.
Right.
But for the same sense that I did, we didn't think we did anything wrong.
Right.
Okay?
I got that right away.
The optics was horrible, and that's fine. And I'm willing to swallow the pride for that. Okay? They wanted to defend me.
They should,
okay?
They should have allowed
and so,
that.
but it doesn't help us. It doesn't help us go forward. That's the key. It's also why I didn't slam Berwick. It doesn't help.
Listen to me for a minute. You talk about the optics. I have 3 people sitting right here, and I don't know what their opinion is. But we're going to just take a little quick opinion poll. You have no idea the optics that you put out that are derogatory, basically, to Laura and to Paul, because everybody thinks they have no voice. Everybody thinks that they're sitting at the table.
And I'm not going to get into it, but that is not true.
I know it's not true that you don't.
If I don't agree, I say something.
What I said. Do you see? No. Exactly. No.
What I said is the optics.
Let me talk.
Wait a minute, Laura, wait a minute.
We shouldn't talk.
See? And that's what I get.
No.
They're trying not to argue.
I know, but you know what? Sometimes
it doesn't,
you need
because
to
it
argue.
does, but it doesn't help.
What I said.
We're trying to move forward.
Well, wait, I know, but do you understand? I'm saying something to you, and what was just represented was not what I said. What I said was that the optics of you sitting and presenting everything, and the other 2 sitting and saying nothing, the optics, and I'm not saying Laura's stupid or she doesn't have a voice. I'm saying the optics are that you're sitting and presenting everything, and if I'm going to tell you the truth, you're presenting everything. You have a voice, and then you say, Paul, do you have anything? No. Laura, do you have anything? No. And then it gets voted on, and then it passes. So you're big on talking about the optics, or like my optics of attacking or whatever. The optics of that are that people in this town don't believe that they have a voice.
Oh, excuse me. I do. I know Laura.
Okay.
And
Well, I know.
I work with Paul. No, they have a voice, and
Okay.
and they know how to say what they
Then
they
I'm
mean.
wrong.
But
Then
they
I'm
are-
wrong.
But
But you heard it from under okay.
It's just quiet.
So
When you watch a meeting like the Milton Town meeting or the other meetings, and these meetings are totally different. I never had them in Massachusetts. But the other meetings, all the people on the board, they talk.
Milton didn't really get along. I mean, from what I was.
No, but they argued.
And quite frankly, previous meetings here, everybody talked because why? They didn't get along.
Right.
I mean, so we work very well. So I have a lot of stuff. I
The
reach out
stuff
to
you
them.
guys have done for this town is above and beyond. The 3 of you have done for this town is above and beyond anything that I've seen any board do in this town for quite some time. Yes.
Paul, you can talk.
You can?
State your name.
What is your name?
There's a percentage every week that there's nothing we can do about but pay the bills and when it's time I don't agree with them, I tell them. That's it.
You do.
That's cute.
He goes through a whole pile of things that we just have to pay.
He does. Where does he get all that stuff?
He's the chairman.
Yeah.
If you look at Maine Municipal, it says the chairman sets the agenda.
Correct.
Okay.
He sets the agenda.
We have to pay.
But do you know that you're equal to him? Do you know that you're equal to him?
Absolutely.
Yes. You are equal to him.
Yeah,
He's
we're
no
here.
better than you are.
Right.
You're all
The only
selected.
thing he can do is set the agenda.
But
That's right.
He's senior to me.
That's right. He's senior to you.
He's senior to everybody.
But that doesn't matter. You're all equal. So if there's something that should be presented that you need, you shouldn't be like suggesting and he has to go and do the work. You need to do the work too and present it.
That's not happening.
Why isn't it happening?
He's not telling me to do the work.
No.
That's what you just said.
That's good.
No. See,
Laura, you know I didn't vote.
that's
for
not
you
what I
on
said.
this.
I said,
We don't
but
have to go there,
But
okay?
I just wanna thank you for all the work that you've been doing, and you know I always thank you for that.
what
Yes,
I'm
you did,
saying
and
is
that's
that you
fine.
don't have to present everything. He can present something. He has the ability to present things too. You know, and really that, you know, like I said to them, you know, like they want to jump all over you or whatever because you're the chairman. There were 3 of you here.
I brought
I
shoulders, it's
agree
okay.
with that, and I
Yes.
told him that.
And I know.
I told him that
She supported-
privately,
she-
I
and-
did not. This
I know you
wasn't
were
a
the-
good atmosphere.
No, it wasn't.
So no matter what we were gonna do, it wasn't gonna work.
I get mad when they attack you, to be honest with you, Laura, because I
Whatever.
just don't.
I
No,
don't,
no, it's
whatever,
just-
that's
it's
part
just-
of the job, and I've
I
learned
just,
to listen, I've
I
really
have
learned to
my
listen.
support. I'm not, again, this board works very well together. Do we always agree? No. But probably 90% of the time we agree. We work very well. It's very different than the boards over the last, I don't know how many years. So it's, while they may be quiet, I try to remember, because yes, I have a personality that I take over. I understand that. It's a flaw.
And he'll ask me to do things and I'll do it and he'll
And
do
he
it.
already did it before.
Absolutely, so it's like,
and
have
that
at
happened.
it.
Okay, I just,
What a husband.
but when I do something, I'm odd. I'm either all in or I'm not at all. That's just me. I can't do anything half-assed. Excuse my French. Okay, but it's just so.
No, but you can't do it all either, because this
I
is what
try.
happens, you know?
Well, but but again, it's not a control thing. But trust me, if you came in here,
Yeah.
the amount of stuff that has never been done.
We know, we watch
Well,
you
I'm
every
just saying,
week,
it's just
Hey,
so.
Chip, let's,
So, anyways, it's
Yeah, I
just.
know. Shut up, Deborah. I know, I got it.
So
It's getting common around here, Bob.
I have a huge list, and I have to go with a timetable. Right now, we got the budgets. Right now, we got to get the ballot done. So I can't really focus on other stuff I want to focus on. I got to focus. We only have so much time. We only meet once a week. So we got to get a bunch of stuff. That's why I always have the agenda. Then I got a bunch of lists, because that's fluid. It all depends on what I got done that week.
What you got done that one.
Yeah.
And listen, I hear Laura, because I've seen it happen right on that video, that she comes in and she got all the papers and
There's
you're
a
like,
ton
oh,
of
yeah,
time
yeah.
I do that I don't even put down for.
That was
But
that
that's,
roads thing, remember, Laura?
this is a part-time job for all of us when he should be a full-time manager doing all this. Okay, so I mean, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So I mean, it does, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna then do it half-assed.
What's your rush?
So, but again, we could beat this. I just wanna, you would ask for 2 things.
Right.
Background checks and liability. It's not my personal opinion, and it can't be her personal opinion, and it
Right.
can't be his personal opinion.
I understand it's time.
The towns have broad immunity
Right.
from lawsuits. One of the things that is specifically we do not have immunity for is motor vehicle stuff.
Okay.
Immunity?
Okay, we don't have. And so for me to allow somebody to drive around on behalf of the town, even if it's for free, they're still on behalf of the town, that opens the town up to liability, to a
Right.
potential suit.
Right.
Okay? I may want to take that risk personally, but that's not my decision.
Correct.
Personally, that is a town thing, and we've been advised by our attorney that they need to have a background check for one.
Mhm.
So I mean, again, if a person is in 10 million accidents, do I really want them driving for me? Probably not.
Right.
Okay? Now, if it was 50 years ago, well, then maybe. That's a call that we end up making. But we need to do that check. And a criminal check, background check, is the same thing.
Right.
So it's a matter of protecting the town. It doesn't matter whether I want to do it, somebody else wants to do it now. Background checks are confidential.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Who gets them?
They're done by our human resources person,
Who's that?
Jordan.
Goes mine.
Well, that's your choice.
That is my choice. Someday I'll tell you why.
Well, that's, again, you can. But I will defend him till the cows go home.
And that's
Okay, he's a good employee.
I'm just
He's
saying,
confidential
Mary's not the
for
only one.
he's confidential. Everything's confidential. He's our human resources person. Okay, so everything gets locked up. That's why his office is the one that's always locked up, and it has to be.
Right.
Even when he leaves, he goes to the post office. That room is locked.
So here's the thing, we heard that whole explanation. We heard that it was the town attorneys and everything else. We just don't want you to feel like we didn't come to the town and give the town that option.
No, I understand. I'm
when
just.
there are 14, wait a minute, there are 14 people that refuse. No. Do you want to start me in the sentence? Then go ahead and answer my question before I finish it.
If you've done this on your own,
Right,
and you didn't come over here and we don't know about it,
right.
you'd be all set, wouldn't you?
Yes. Yes.
That's all I wanna know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
you're
mean
right.
that's the thing. You can volunteer all day long, just like yourself. You're volunteering and you do admirable work. And I don't know how you find the time to do what you do, but you do. Okay? And you sacrifice yourself, and I know that as well. And that I don't need a background check because you're just an individual in town helping out other people in town.
Right.
Well, we have no control over what you do. You know, so that's why you don't have
very hard to control.
But that's why that's why I don't care about a background check. I mean, you could be a mass murderer doing it. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's just so that's but if it falls under the town,
I don't want to hear that I'm trying to take it over. I'm trying to do it. I've been doing it for 2 years. Frankly, I'm getting tired. I need some volunteers. I need them to help me, and there are people willing right now to do that. So
that's fine. No, I
I'm
mean,
not
why
taking
don't
it
you do
away.
that?
That's what my plan is now, because it's kind of out of my hands. I have no volunteers. Well, there's no
Well,
reason.
you know about it, and
I want you to know about it.
I don't mind putting the word out, but it's a private volunteer organization, whatever you want to call it.
Have to put the word out too. But I do want you to know about it. I do want you to follow along with it. I do want you to see what we're doing, and I want you to know who's involved, because there's a lot of people that are stepping up. They just don't want that control of their huge whole thing for 2 or 3 hours that they're going to volunteer with me, and I can't force them.
That's right.
So I have a choice to say you have to have a background check to follow my program, or I'm going to listen to you because this is our program, and it really belongs to every one of them because they've all got hours into this program. So that's where I stand, and I hope that you'll come to the Grange. It's the 29th. It's starting at 6 o'clock. We're all going to prepare a meal together, so everybody's been told to bring your aprons, and we'll let you do the dessert because you're phenomenal. And that's basically where I stand with that. I was nervous about coming to you because I don't want you to think like I presented this to you and then I took it away. It's completely not my 100% call. There are other people that have worked with this. And so for that, I'm grateful for you for reaching out to the town attorney and getting that answer before we went too far in that direction and then found out that we had to go and do that. And I'm grateful to you for asking the questions about the insurance. And right now, if everybody's acting as an individual, according to what I'm hearing, if they're acting as an individual volunteer, I don't have to insure them either. So my worries about providing that insurance aren't even anything to worry about, I guess. So, okay. So, thank you. And listen, I've heard you argue. I'm just saying that, one of the things.
You can argue more.
Please argue with him. Argue. Give him something to think about.
I got a text from my husband telling me to keep my mouth shut.
Don't get involved. Mary, do not get involved with that.
That is the text I got from my husband, so I guess he watched this meeting, which he was probably kind of bummed out too. But sometimes when I open my mouth, I do say the wrong thing. Most of the time when I open my mouth, I say the wrong thing or something insulting.
You?
I asked my husband last week to watch the video, and he watched it. And it's the first time he said, "You didn't screw it up this time." So, I don't
Good
understand.
for you.
I don't understand the comment that I was rude, because if I was rude, Chip, I trust you. I would apologize to you, but I don't know where I was rude last week. Okay?
I'd have to review, I don't.
Okay, I don't know where I was rude last
It was
week.
after she left.
Okay, and
And it
I'm not
wasn't
done
Chip
yet.
anyway.
Get in my way. Sorry. You gotta be shitting me.
No, it wasn't Chip.
Sorry, I apologize, Chip. It wasn't you that said I was rude. Mr. Nato, I'm not usually very nice to you.
What?
Don't worry, I'm not gonna apologize.
For what?
Again, after the meeting, you said I was rude. Last week's meeting, after the meeting, you said I was rude. You have a lot of statements to make about people when the meeting is over. Okay? You don't come out and say it when the video's
I
going.
don't remember
No,
saying
this is
that.
when the video's going, he just says it to Laura and he forgets that the video's going.
Right, I mean, I've heard Laura tell you, I don't know how many times,
It's on,
it's on, it's on, or you got your hearing aid on. Maybe you shouldn't make such insulting insults. I mean, just, I know you think it's nothing, but I have sat here for the last 4 years watching these meetings to see what goes on with this town, okay? And this is the first time something's happening and something's getting done. And I'm really happy about that. And I'm happy with Chip, and I'm happy with Laura. Paul, there could be a day you call us for Meals on Wheels. And let's hope there isn't.
He would get them just the
Well, I
same.
wouldn't deliver them to him.
Well, I would.
Well, I wouldn't. That's
But for your information, Paul supports it, he just doesn't think it should be a town program.
right, and he doesn't think people need a turkey on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I'm just,
and he doesn't think this, he doesn't think that.
I'm just saying is
He's
that,
allowed his thoughts.
you know, everybody's allowed their own opinion.
I know that, okay? I do know that. And I apologize to you, Chip, because I thought you were the one that said it. No, I should have known better.
No, I would say that to your face, you know that.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I think
Sir?
I remain quiet, I'm just keeping real quiet.
Was this entertaining tonight?
They're very entertaining, but, you know,
It's
I
okay.
used to have a pesticide license and I know the hornets when I see one.
So,
And
we're not done yet.
We're not done.
Not even close.
We're not
Ma'am,
done.
do you have, Betty?
No.
You forgot, I spent 5 hours this morning passing out those.
Yeah, he's been here,
Thank
he's
you.
been lurking.
We appreciate
We
that,
actually have an executive session that we're now gonna go into.
but I'm going to the
um,
bathroom.
Sorry.
We will probably have one motion when we leave.
Oh, you want? Well, will it be on video?
I'm probably not gonna turn the video on for 30 seconds. Because literally it'll just be a motion, we're signing a document, and it will be in the minutes.
I would
Because
imagine it too.
all motions are in the minutes. So.
Very good.
Thank you.
If you wanna ask me the next day, I'll tell you what
I'll
it
ask
was.
you.
But I'm just not gonna, to have part 2, 30 seconds doesn't make sense.
Well, yes, it does. Inquiring minds. You guys have a great night.
Could you
And
shut the video
I
off?
make a motion to go up, hey, Paul, don't worry. But then I ain't all in favor? Okay, I just got
The
abandoned.
video off?
We're not in executive session yet.
he has to wait till they're in executive session. She wants to say something off the video, obviously.
I'm just saying, I didn't get a chance.
Uh-oh.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Keep me away from Paul right now.
What, you making pieces at you?
Let's see, I make a motion to go into executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA 4056A and 1 MRSA 4056F. Do I have a second? All those in favor? All right, it's 2 out of 3. We're good.